ladies and gentlemen, Gamebird Classic joins the Nintenbyte Podcast live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. And cut! All right, that's a wrap, everyone. Let's head home.
Was that good? Terry? Phil? Just really want everyone to like me. Oh.
You stop by for the Nintenbyte. You got the trifles and it feels right. Like Bowser, you can listen all night, singing peaches until the sunlight. Summer shoots her beam so bright. Master Hand always brings a fight. Catch 'em all and use that fire blast. Put the soul back to visit your past. Welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast. Hell yeah. Just to get things out of the way, I know my video, if you're watching the video version, is super choppy and like not really working. I'm going to work on that once we get into one of the topics and the discussion gets going. That being said, obviously, as you saw, big announcement, Gamebird Classic, permanent member of the show. How's it going, buddy?
It's going. Do you hear how good I sound on this new microphone that you sent me to join the show? I'm super stoked. I got the RE20 over here kicking some butt. I sound better than ever. Huge shout out to the Nintenbyte Podcast, and I'm stoked to be here.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Glad to have you here. All right, let's welcome in our guest, Mr. Super Metal Day 64. How's it going?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to talking some tech talk tonight.
Yeah, a little technical here. I mean, we got the technical guy here. Why won't we do it? Yeah. Eric.
Hell, I'm here as normal. I don't have anything else to say. I'm just here.
Just here. Mr. Thunder Stash Gaming.
What's up, everybody? Hope you all have had a great week. If you guys remember last week, I was talking about a game that I was disappointed a lot of people hadn't played. Do you guys remember what game that was?
What game last week you were disappointed people didn't play?
Yeah, you guys couldn't guess it.
Virtua Golf, right? Or right?
Tennis.
Virtua Tennis.
Yeah. I was halfway there.
Virtua Tennis.
I was testing you.
I actually, you know what's funny? I ordered a bunch of shirts probably like 2 or 3 months ago. I just got them in. No joke. I swear to God, one of the shirts I ordered was a custom Virtua Tennis shirt. That's how much I love the game.
There you go.
That is freaking epic.
So what I said last week was real. I wasn't overhyping it. I love it this much.
Oh,
That's
what's so
why
good
you need
about
to
the
play
game?
it. Virtua Tennis?
Yeah,
Dave, you haven't played it?
I believe I have. Is it on Dreamcast?
Yeah, Dreamcast.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I
started in
played
the
it.
arcade, and then, it came out on Dreamcast.
It's been like 20 years though, so.
I know. Yeah, no, it's just really good. I don't even play tennis. I don't play it. I watched Agassi and Sampras in the 90s on USA Network. I think we all probably caught some of those.
So
That's
it's
as
better
far as
than
it
Mario
goes.
Tennis?
Oh, I think so.
Hmm.
I think it's the best tennis game, hands down.
Hands
Like
down.
if it came out, for instance, like you know how 2K has Top Spin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Zero interest. Zero. If it was Virtua Tennis, I'd pre-order it.
Okay.
How high do you rank Wii Sports Tennis? Gotta know.
It's solid. You know, it's solid. I haven't played it in a long time. Probably 7 or an 8. But as far as tennis goes, Virtua Tennis is perfect.
El Perfecto. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our topic roulette. Eric, why don't you go first since you're just smiling over there?
No, I really wish I would have thought of this during my intro, but I'm just here so I don't get fined.
All right, man. What topic you want?
Oh gosh, should I start out with the one of the big hitters and something that I don't have to do a whole lot with? Cool, I like that idea. Let's start off with the DLSS Switch 2 topic.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
Holy crap!
What a surprise! You
Hey-o.
took the topic that you're going to toss to somebody else.
Hey,
I love it.
that's my
Man.
MO.
Couldn't leave me with an easy one.
No, God, no. Why the hell would I do that?
Good job, Eric.
Yeah, Dave, he's excited for that one. Basically, the Dave topic. Let's go ahead then, and you know what, Game Bird, Mr. Newbie, which one you taking?
I feel kind of cheap going for. Can I go for dealer's choice? I'm still learning the rules. It's my first day. Can I go for dealer's choice?
Oh yeah, take dealer's choice.
Hell yes. I'm going to take dealer's choice. And I want to ask, do you guys think that the first 12 months of Switch 2 is going to be the best first year of a Nintendo console ever?
Okay, that's a good topic.
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah.
one. I like that.
That's very good. I like that. We haven't had that conversation yet.
No.
All right. Thunderstash, just go. Look, there's two good topics, though, so it's not like these are bad topics.
Yeah. I'll take the Switch 1 Direct.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I always feel like with the Switch 2 one. Oh.
Well, I did listen. I listened to the podcast at the gym today
Yeah.
for as long as I could. Yeah. So I at least got to hear it. That little tidbit.
That little tidbit. All right. Cool. That means, guys, I have the various updates on Nintendo Switch 2, which mostly deal with just some patents and some stuff out there that confirms something that we pretty much already knew at this point. If you didn't think it was confirmed, and then possibly a new interesting feature that I don't really care about, but some people might. So we'll see. So let's go ahead then and get into our first topic, Eric.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about DLSS and Switch 2. So Super Metal Dave, it looks like you may have made a video on this. So what is
Multiple
DLSS?
videos.
Multiple videos. Cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So what is DLSS? Is it magic? I don't know. Can you please explain it to us, everyday folk, as what DLSS is?
Yeah, it is magic, literally. No, but yeah, it's basically it's AI upscaling used in it's hardware based AI upscaling, and what that is that the Switch 2 is confirmed now. We've seen the chip. It has an NVIDIA based SoC, and from the leaks that we know, the confirmed leaks, that the chip is based on NVIDIA's Ampere architecture, which is the 3000 series, which came out in 2020. And if you do any research on DLSS and RTX GPUs, that really started taking effect with the Turing GPUs that came out in 2018, which is the RTX 2060, 2080 Ti, so on and so forth. And so ever since then, DLSS and ray tracing has been a feature of NVIDIA GPUs. So since the Switch 2 is pretty much confirmed to have Ampere architecture, which is the 3000 series, we know it's going to have DLSS support and functionality and ray tracing functionality. So, and the AI upscaling comes from these things called tensor cores, which is part of the architecture itself built into Ampere. So if you that's some common misunderstanding about DLSS and ray tracing and things like that. People don't understand how it works because they think it's a feature that is software based and they just have to add it in somehow. But it's actually on an architecture level for the chip itself. It's actually made that way to have the cores that produce these features inside the chip. So Ampere has tensor cores, RT cores, ray tracing cores, and the actual CUDA cores all built into one into the chip itself. So you can't take it out. It's actually built into the architecture. So the tensor cores produce the AI upscaling, which is basically it's like telling your computer to figure out how to display an image on the screen to make it look correct. You've seen these AI images online where people try to mimic real life people or real life images, and the computer will do its best job to make it look similar enough or close enough to approximate what they look like. So the same thing with DLSS is that it's actually taking a lower resolution image and upscaling it with AI, smart artificial intelligence, to make it look close or close enough to the actual image that it's trying to upscale to, which would be 4K or 1440p. So you would take like a 720p image, for example, and then you would upscale it to 1440p, which is, by the way, I think is going to be the resolution that Switch is going to be like the sweet spot. It's going to have like a lot of 720p, 900p upscaling to like 1440p range. I think that's realistic. I don't really think 4K is going to be that often, but they obviously will have games that do that as well. But for the more like ports and stuff like that, I think 1440p is going to be the range. But so it takes the lower resolution image and it approximates it to make it look close to the native resolution. That's the goal of AI upscaling, and that's the failure of software upscaling. And when I say failure is because if you look at the comparisons between FSR, AMD's version, it pales in comparison. The reason why it looks so bad is because it's not actually using any hardware-based AI to upscale the image. It's using all software. So that's why DLSS has such an awesome, amazing advantage for Switch 2, because it's going to actually make those lower res images look great on your 4K TV, even from those, like even as low as 540p, it will look pretty much good enough for most people on a 4K display upscale to like 1440p. It's going to look maybe a little bit more shimmery, like there's some image breakup a little bit here and there, but a lot of people are not going to notice that kind of stuff. And it's actually a game changer, especially with NVIDIA's latest update they had with the transformer model, changing the way DLSS is actually rendering. They can use the original model still, of course, and it's going to look great, but the new model actually makes things look even better from lower resolutions. So like a lot of people can compare it to performance mode and quality mode for the transformer model. If you guys know anything about the performance models for DLSS, you have performance mode, balance mode, and quality mode, and you have ultra performance mode, which is like super low resolution, upscaling really high. The problem with DLSS, the older model, is that the lower resolution you go, obviously, the more degraded the image looks at 4K or 1440p. And the transformer model, the new one they just released, which Switch 2 will be compatible with because it is compatible with Ampere-based architecture, you will be able to have better quality at lower resolutions, which is a gigantic, huge win for Nintendo and something like the Switch 2, which is going to be outputting a lot of games at lower resolutions because it has to get things to run well on the console. So the cool thing is that basically it's gonna get rid of a lot of the shimmering, a lot of the artifacts on the screen. And in the video I posted just last week, I showed an example of how much better the new model looks, and that will actually be compatible with Switch 2. There is a slight performance hit when developers use that. So you'll get like maybe 5 to 10 frames per second less performance using that model, but the advantage outweighs the disadvantages, I would say, because you are actually able to keep rendering lower resolutions and making it look really close to how it looks on the quality mode, which is close to native resolution. And people are not going to be able to tell a difference. And literally, it's like magic. It really is. Like it takes a lot for me to be impressed by something these days, and I was blown away by it. On my own PC, I did tests, and I was completely blown away. I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 full on path tracing, max settings at 4K with performance mode DLSS, which is only 1080p, and it looks like native 4K. It looks that good. So wow. Like they did an amazing job. If you use the old model, which is the CNN model, it looks worse. You can see the difference. There's more shimmering, there's more artifacts, there's more jaggies. But on the new model, it looks like almost like native 4K. So like I was blown away by it. So DLSS is a huge win for Nintendo, and there is nothing that PlayStation 5 has or Xbox has that is as good as that. So
I've got a question. So when it comes to DLSS, and like implementing it into games that are going to come for Switch 2. Is this something that requires a lot of efforts from developers to kind of implement into their software that they're developing, or is it something that they'll just be able to turn on for it and it's going to automatically do the job since it's an AI upscaler?
Yeah, that's something that Nintendo will have to answer the question on. Sure. And I'm sorry about my camera, guys. I'm gonna have some choppiness. I don't know. I can't really do anything about it right now, but yeah, you can hear me okay, hopefully.
Yeah, you're great, man. You're good.
So basically, yeah, Nintendo's probably going to have a blanket like option for developers in their dev kits to have like blanket DLSS. So it's something that they'll be able to turn on in the actual dev kit is my guess. That'll be the smartest way to do it. Also, they can likely have the more like high level developers will probably do like their own version of it. They'll probably use DLSS 4 or whatever. It's really not that hard to implement these days. I can put DLSS 4 into my own games just by dragging and dropping the DLL file into the game. And it works.
So it's not like it doesn't take a ton of resources to. That's what I was kind of curious about. I'm a lifelong Nintendo fan since the day I picked up a controller. I understand the company. I'm good at kind of navigating and predicting where they're going. Tech is my big blind spot. So I was always curious with the DLSS, like, is this something that devs are going to be like, we don't want to waste the resources trying to implement in the games because it takes too much time, it's too expensive, or if it's going to be more of an easy inclusion that devs for the most part are going to be like, yeah, let's have the upscaling in there.
Yeah, that'll be the whole reason to really to have the Switch 2 be on NVIDIA is to use that. So I think it's going to have, well, because like this is a portable console, you're going to be using as a portable on the go and on your TV. Upscaling is like probably one of the highest top priorities for Nintendo to make this look good at all times. So you got to think that they're going to be having that easily available for developers to use. And back in the day, mind you, it was actually harder for developers. There's documentation that proves this. It was actually harder for developers to implement DLSS back when it was brand new. But now that the technology has matured and everyone's using it, it's available for everyone to use now at this point. It's actually pretty much just as easy to implement as anything else, like turning on a switch, basically.
Right.
No pun intended. But yeah, like it's a huge, awesome game changer, really. Like I was excited for FSR back when it first came out with AMD's chips because they were trying to do it without using hardware, and I was like, wow, if they can do it without using any hardware, that would make the cost of their GPUs less, and it would be more beneficial for people to use because it wouldn't cost so much. But once you go DLSS, you can't go back. Well, like once you see how good it looks, there's just no denying how much better it is in FSR. And sadly, AMD's own version of it, currently with FSR 3, they haven't released their newer GPU yet, but it doesn't matter at this point. It's just nowhere near as good. There's lots of, it just looks bad, especially on the big screen. It looks really bad. So Nintendo is in a great position to win big time with their image quality and make things look like a next-gen console when you're playing your TV. That's what it's going to do. And the magic of it is that you're actually playing something that's going to be like rendering at 720p internally most of the time, and you're not going to even notice. That's the magic of it.
Right. I mean, that's really cool. That's magic.
It is magic.
Yeah.
It's literally the secret sauce that they have. So yeah, it's going to be really good. I'm really excited. And I'm really excited to see certain ports on Switch 2, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I have a suspicion that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is actually going to have better image quality on Switch 2 than it does on PS5. Because if you look at if you research what they're using on the PS5 version of that game, they're not even using FSR, guys. They're using like TAU or something like that. Some kind of like really low quality upscaler, and it looks terrible on PS5. It's a blurry mess. Yeah. And the PC port of Rebirth uses DLSS, and it looks fantastic. Even on like a 2060 GPU from 2018, it looks better than PS5.
Wow.
So hey, man, I'm excited for Switch 2. I'm excited for the tech. I'm going to be doing lots of comparisons on my channel. Like I have a beast PC, as you guys know if you follow me. I'm waiting to get the RTX 5090. I have a 4090 still, but you can't buy one right now, so I'm waiting on that. But once I get I already have a great PC, but I'm going to do lots of comparisons with Switch 2 ports and the PC port. I'm not going to even worry about consoles. I like to do the PC comparisons versus the Nintendo stuff, because you get the greatest differences, and then it's actually more impressive that way when you do that. If you compare, like I remember with Switch 1, people were comparing it to Xbox One. It's like, oh, it doesn't look that bad, compared to Xbox One. Well, of course it doesn't. But like it's more impressive when you compare these things to like really the higher spec stuff. Like when you compare like Doom Eternal to the PC version, like, wow, that's really impressive. So
yeah, it's the biggest difference that you're comparing it to. That's cool.
Right.
Stash, I think you wanted to chime in with something.
Yeah, I was going to ask, as far as like frame rate goes, what it could do to improve frame rate. Like if you have a game that's say running at 50 frames a second, would DLSS be able to improve it?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, because DLSS is all about your image quality. But yes, because you're going to be trying to render something at a lower resolution to get there. So like, if a developer's having a problem with getting their game running at 60 frames and they're running it at 50 frames and the game's running at like 900p, and they're like, we need to use DLSS to lower it to 720p and we'll get 60 frames, no problem. Then yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So yes, it will increase performance in that sense, but like it's more about the image quality itself, and because it's tricking your eyes with AI, it's not really tricking your eyes. It's actually approximating the correct output resolution with AI to do that. It makes it appear to be a high resolution, even though it's not. It's rendering it that way. They're able to increase frame rate because it increases performance, because the actual performance of the console does less with the actual rendering resolution of real pixels. It's using AI generated pixels to get that higher resolution so you can get better performance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. Hopefully that makes sense for everyone in chat. I understood that well. And that's just an example though of how like developers are able to get creative if they want to be able to hit a 60 FPS, or if they want to improve the frame rate, like there's options for them with DLSS. So this is like, it's really cool. It's quite the utility, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a game changer. Like it's, I'm not making that up. It's 100% the real deal, guys. Like seriously, you should be excited for that.
Again, because like I said earlier, I'm completely ignorant when it comes to the tech stuff. It's just not my area. With DLSS embedded into kind of the DNA of Switch 2, and knowing that Switch 2 is backwards compatible, would it be possible to incorporate that DLSS in Switch 1 games when you're playing them on your Switch 2? Or would that need to be something that developers kind of add in as kind of like how Sony did, where you could buy the $5 or $10 PS5 upgrade for the games?
Probably either and or is my guess. I would say Nintendo would have an option to automatically boost your games with blanket upscaling on backwards compatibility, which would automatically make Switch games look and run better. Without any patches at all. Not saying it's going to make them run perfectly that way, but that could be an easy fix for certain games to look a lot better and run like maybe a game is like natively running at 30 frames and like can't even hit 720p. With Nintendo's like blanket option, they could easily nail that and then make it look better on your TV as well for that. And then actual patching it, developers need to go in and say, hey, we need to actually patch into the code a 60 frames per second mode, because we actually do that in the first place. We can actually patch it in now, add some better textures, and maybe charge $5 to $10 for people to upgrade to the Switch 2 like variant of it, and you can get a game running and looking a lot better. Or they could do like PlayStation does and just release the entire native version of that said game to Switch 2. So say they want to give the PS5 or PS4 version of Doom Eternal, they would have to release its own version on Switch 2 probably, or a native port upgrade. Then they would either charge you or they would give it to you for free. It's up to the developer at that point.
Ah, man, it'd be so rad. Just the slew of games on Switch 1 that I just picture with the DLSS. Even the Prime 1 remaster, throw some upscaling on that. Already a stunning game on the Switch.
Oh,
And just
yeah.
imagine some of the new particle effects and lighting effects that you could get in a game like that. Really cool.
Yeah, sky's
All
the
right,
limit.
I've asked 100 questions.
Yeah, I got one again. So I want to pick your brain on this, see if you think it's possible, because it's something I have mentioned a few times, and it's just something I would really love. I'm sure you guys would too. Is there? What do you think the chances are, or like how hard would it be? Let's say that to use the DLSS on NSO games.
They could do that, but I don't see why they would, because you're usually playing like a retro game, right?
Well, like, say we're playing Wave Race 64.
Mm-hmm.
Could we make it look better? Could we make it run better with a patch?
Yeah, you could. I just haven't heard of anybody doing something like that with DLSS before, because usually it's for like, that's like, they're like emulating something.
Mm-hmm.
If I were in Nintendo, what they would actually do would just update their emulator and just run it at a better resolution, better frame rate. You could do that within the emulator. You don't need DLSS for that. But yes, technically DLSS could give you better resolution output for doing that. So yes, you could. I just had never heard of anybody using DLSS for emulators before. So that's kind of an interesting question. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, it would be cool. It would be cool for sure. Anything to make, to shine up those 64 games.
64 games need a lot more work than just DLSS. Let's be honest.
I know. I have the analog 3D pre-ordered, and we'll see. We'll see what it does, right? Who knows?
There's the N64 games have issues with all kinds of stuff besides like resolution. They have texture issues, all kinds of like collision detection issues, like all kinds of stuff. That's what makes it an N64 game, though. That's retro.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I don't know.
Man. Demonic Brawler had a funny super chat here. Says still won't fix Scarlet and Violet. Funny thing is, it could help with the frame rate. Potentially.
They would need a patch for that game to get rid of those N64 trees.
Well, you're not going to fix that part, but the frame rate, it could theoretically. I don't think they're going to touch the game, though. I'm just being completely honest. I'm pretty sure that the Pokemon Company has well moved on to the next.
Yeah, you know what really annoyed me about certain Switch 1 first party games is that they were having stuttering issues on some of these games. Like not all of them, and a lot of that had to do with the memory of the console. So I think Switch 2 is going to be a massive upgrade, not just for resolution and clarity, but also just smoothness of gameplay. You're not going to have so many stuttering issues that you have with Switch 1. Long load times are going to be over. It's going to be a much faster loading console. So yeah, it's just going to be such a huge upgrade. And if the leaked specs are correct, you're looking at around what is it, like 6-7 times more powerful while docked or something like that? What it averages out to?
That's wild. Just thinking about that is so wild to me.
I can't remember. I had a chart for it. It's it's obviously leak specs, so we're not 100% sure, but it's pretty significant. Like even even like handheld is significantly more powerful than current docked Switch, which is just that's awesome. Like that's just great news. Now again, a lot of that's just measuring the GPU stuff, because the CPU stuff is still kind of like, hey, we don't know. Like we know the cores, there's 8 of them.
Yeah. The CPU, like the CPU, that you haven't heard any rumors of anybody complaining about the CPU.
Yeah,
you've heard you just heard basically like it gets the job done pretty much, right? So like it's not. I wouldn't be too worried about the CPU. Everything I've heard myself, I haven't heard anybody saying anything wrong about the CPU either.
Every developer I talk to, they're just excited. They just want to get their stuff out on it.
Yeah, so but people need to keep their expectations in check, though. The only thing I would not expect is a lot of 4K games. But you will get 4K upscaling for certain games, maybe 30 frames per second. But I would not expect 4K 60 on Switch 2. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really. I think it's going to be dependent. Like, let's say because there was this great thing, this great super chat that just came in about this, asking about like the 120 FPS stuff, which I don't think Switch 2 is supporting. It'd be cool if it did, but
I mean, it can support it, but will it do it? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think that's even going to be something they target. Now, whether they allow third parties to maybe target it on docked mode, especially because doesn't make as much sense in handheld if the screen's limited. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
But what I do think is interesting is when you look at the upscaling, and I have a 4080 Super. I know that's like way overkill compared to what the Switch is doing in there.
Oh yeah.
But I kept thinking that obviously we don't know what sort of customization could have happened with the DLSS specifically for this platform, because it's probably using a custom version, just like technically like PlayStation 5 Pro isn't using just straight FSR. It's using a custom version for their hardware. So I'm assuming that they'll probably be, and we've seen some patents, that there's probably a fully custom version of DLSS to maximize this specific set of hardware to do upscaling. So when we talk about like 4K 60, I'm not thinking in terms of like taking Call of Duty and throwing that at 4K 60. I don't think that that's realistic. And Call of Duty wants to stay at 60 on console. It doesn't want to go to 30. So that's something that if they did use upscaling, maybe it's just a 1440p and they just kind of go in between. But I was thinking about the 4K 60 stuff, because if you have a game, let's say an example, it's Mario Kart, right? And it can run at higher than 60 FPS already. It caps it because that's just what Nintendo does. It would cap everything at 60, but there's plenty of headroom for it to run more. I think if you used DLSS to bump that to 4K, there's no reason it shouldn't be able to maintain that 60.
Right.
Because the DLSS is technically like using dedicated parts of the GPU, and it'll mostly be in docked mode, by the way. We're talking about this. This isn't a handheld. That's, this stuff might not even be activated in handheld mode. So, that's a mystery too. If they allow it to be activated in handheld mode, that's awesome. It's going to affect your battery life. But if they want to give the consumers a way to say, hey, we don't care, let us get an hour of battery life, but better performance in handheld, cool. I mean, I'm all for options. So we'll see if Nintendo allows that, because we know on Switch, over time, they unlock new power profiles for developers and stuff. And maybe that's one thing down the line. They're like, hey, look, if you want to use DLSS and handheld, developers, go for it. And just let the fans choose if they want to turn it on and off for battery life reasons.
Don't get me wrong. There will be 4K 60 games on Switch. It just won't be it's not AAA third party games.
Yeah, I don't see any AAA third party game doing it unless it's. I could see if a game I'm thinking about is something like maybe like Fortnite, which I know is at AAA's, and I don't know, it's one of the biggest games in the fucking world by Epic Games. They off in a mode where they'd be like, hey, if you want to go to 4K at 60, you can, but like we might bump down some of the visual effects, but then hey, you can also get all the visual effects, but then we don't want you to dip back to 30 FPS. You want to go back to 30 like Switch? Do you really like that? Maybe they let you do that. I would say nobody, if you could play Fortnite at 60 on Switch 2, if they give you an option to play at 30 to look prettier, don't do it. I don't know what you're doing.
It always depends on the game. If you remember the Digital Foundry review of the Prince of Persia game, that 2D game, it was running at 4K 60 on Xbox Series S. Because it's a lower spec game, so it was like 720p or whatever on Switch 1. But like, you're gonna get 4K 60 games on Switch. It depends on the type of game it is.
Yeah, the more graphically intensive games, guys, are kind of the ones that you're going to see. No, those probably aren't going to 4K. They might even be upscaling to hit 1080p on your TV because they want to hit certain performance metrics, which is perfectly fine in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, that's going to be fine. Even like 1080p on a 4K TV. Guys, we've been doing it the whole Switch generation. It's not terrible. Obviously, we want better. But, I also think that this generation is going to be the one where we're going to see, kind of like we saw on PlayStation and Xbox now, options for consumers to choose better looking visuals versus like higher frame rates or higher resolution. Like we might get options as consumers to do that. PC gamers have all the options.
Right.
But Nintendo likes to keep things simplified. So I can see like a performance versus quality mode kind of starting to be a thing this gen for Nintendo. And DLSS will probably play a big role in that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get the Switch 2 port of Cyberpunk. I want to see that, do my own comparison video of that. That's going to be really exciting for me. I love that game, so I'm always messing with that game settings and everything. It's really fun.
See, I'm one of those things that I'm thinking like, God, what games are like almost always at 30 that I guess I'd be okay if it was at 30 and it stayed there. I'm like, oh, what's the next 3D Zelda? They give me a quality mode in 4K, but it's 30. I might rock that. I might rock that on my TV and then just put it in 60 on the go.
As 10K Noodle says, Ocarina of Time was a smooth 20 frames per second.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the entire Switch generation, we've been dealing with some issues. I mean, even Echoes of Wisdom, that was one of the biggest games for Nintendo last year. That has hiccups all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
So this isn't
Depending on
sorry, go on.
Depending on the title, I actually switch between performance and quality. If I'm playing a game like, let's say, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, those kind of Souls-like games, I obviously am going to keep the game in performance mode. I need it to go run as fast as possible. But other games, even Final Fantasy, which runs way better in Rebirth, I'm talking about, runs way better in performance mode, I'd switch, because anytime I get to a beautiful vista or a certain area where I'm like, oh man, like I have to see this in the fidelity mode. Zelda's one of those games where I feel like the combat is not super skill demanding like a Souls game. Not that it doesn't need skill, it can be challenging. Some of those Lionels are super hard in the modern Zeldas, but I could see myself playing a bulk of a beautiful 4K DLSS ray tracing Zelda game in that fidelity mode as opposed to the performance, just to really take in that kind of experience for the first time with those visuals.
Wait for the Switch 2 emulation, then you get everything.
There you go. That's an option too.
Yeah,
you know, your own game. We do
thinking about what you said there, Gamebird. The interesting thing about Nintendo and like Retro Studios, for example, when they make first party games, they don't really push for the best. Like even Retro Studios doesn't necessarily have to push for the best tech. What they do is that they find innovative ways to make things look beautiful without using
absolutely
amazing tech. Like if you look at Metroid Prime Remastered, they're using a bunch of like cube maps and like actual art assets to make reflections appear to be reflections when they're just art drawn. You can actually, if you examine some of the puddles and some of the Chozo ruins they're actually just art assets drawn on the texture, and it looks like reflections, but they're actually not reflections. So like that kind of stuff is really cool, and that's actually something I really like that they do, because it's very innovative and creative, and visually it looks stunning. And you could tell a layman basically that's ray tracing. They'll believe you because they don't know any better. So like that's the whole thing. Like when you see these sites like Digital Foundry, and nothing against Digital Foundry, but they will try to push their own narrative in their videos, telling you what looks good and what looks bad, when actually it's up to you what looks good and what looks bad to your own eyes. They'll say this looks much worse because it's not running ray tracing, but like a lot of times these games look great just from using regular screen space reflections. So they just be careful with, like, you know, when you guys in the chat, when you see these people telling you what looks good and what doesn't look good, trust your own eyes. You know,
I mean, the same thing that happens with resolution too. There are legitimately people that can't tell the difference from 1080p to 4K. They just, their eyes can't discern the difference, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like everyone, like just because other people can, it doesn't make them better than you. It's just we all see colors a little bit different. We all see, just in general, the world a little bit different, and that includes video games. And beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like the only thing for Nintendo, and this is just something it's not going to happen because it hasn't happened now, and I just don't think they're going to do it. But I would like to see Nintendo enter the world of anti-aliasing finally. It would. They're just not going to do it because more power to make our games look better. That's fine, but the Jaggies, it would be nice if we could just get. There's no reason you could have been using it this whole time.
I'm trying to think, didn't he use some on some Wii U games or no? Maybe they didn't.
No, I don't think so. No, they're. I don't know why they're allergic to anti-aliasing. Guys has been in all these consoles for a decade
Forever.
at this point.
Yeah.
So Switch was at that level of console. It could have used anti-aliasing. There were third-party games that did it.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, I don't know. They're just allergic to it because maybe they just think the cost of performance versus what they want to do isn't worth it.
But here's the thing: you play PC games, right? So if you notice when you turn on DLSS in PC games, guess what option does not appear? Guess what option is grayed out?
Anti-aliasing.
Anti-aliasing.
Yeah. Maybe that's the thing. Nintendo waited
they
for
don't have to use it.
Nintendo waited for AI tech to get there, so they were right the whole time. Anti-aliasing was a waste of time, everyone.
It literally is because DLSS and DLAA, as in the chat there, it is its own form of anti-aliasing automatically.
So I think
it solves a problem.
Yeah, Nintendo, I think, is at this point where, for starters, guys, if DLSS is usable in handle, like it's just on by default or whatever, and in dodge mode, this is one of these features that we're talking about it right now. This is the tech behind the scenes because Nintendo's not going to talk about this. They don't ever talk about tech, and they're definitely not. Just like they didn't talk about how they used FSR in a couple Switch games. They didn't talk about that. We just found that out as fans through data mining and realizing, hey, we're seeing some effects here that seem similar to FSR. Oh, look at that in the code. They're using FSR. So this is stuff that we're talking about. Nintendo's never going to give us the details on. It's going to take tech breakdowns. It's going to take developers putting things out there, things leaking out of the dev portal for us to get all the full details. But it's one of these things where this is the first system to come out ever, not even PCs or anything, where pretty much every game is going to be using this. Every new game that releases will be using it, at least in docked mode, if not also in handheld. And most consumers are going to be blissfully unaware what the hell is going on and why the games suddenly seem to look pretty good when they look at it compared to other systems out there, even though, no, it's not on par. It's not about being on par. It's just about being good enough that people don't care.
Yep.
And everyone's going to wonder, how the hell are they doing this? Why the hell does this stuff look so much better than on a Steam Deck in comparison? It's Nintendo is not going to tell you. You just enjoy it. It's magic. Hence the magic.
Well, it's just like GameCube back in the day. I thought that was magic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When the GameCube first came out with Rogue Squadron 2 as a launch game, I thought I was watching the movie. I was like, this is insane. I'm playing the movie. It looks just as good as the movie.
I'm still just blown away because DLSS isn't new, and I know 4.0 is out, and if any of that trickles down, we have no idea. But what's interesting to me is just even on PC, not every PC game supports DLSS. It just doesn't, because it doesn't need to. There's FSR technology, or they just don't want to support it at all. They want it just to be raw processing, native everything. Okay, fine. Or it's an indie game that they just don't bother.
And they have Intel upscaling too. They can use.
Intel's got their own stuff too. So what's interesting is this is the first time a system has this across the board. Because guess what, guys? PlayStation 5 doesn't even have it on the base PS5. It's on the Pro only. And it's not even this. It's a different type. Xbox,
and they're having issues with that too. That looks pretty bad.
Yeah, it doesn't look stuff. Yeah, it doesn't look very good. Which, again, they're using a custom version of FSR, whereas DLSS has always been ahead of what FSR is doing because it uses dedicated hardware cores for it, not software based. And by the way, guys, the crazy thing is there is a possibility, and if you look at some of those Nintendo patents, they might use software based as well. They might use both for different things in different games. They could actually do that. And only Nintendo's hardware can, because only Nintendo's hardware can use DLSS compared to the competition right now, besides on PC. And if we ever get some handheld PCs that eventually use NVIDIA tech, which I know that's probably NVIDIA's big play with Nintendo, is they're hoping, hey, when people see how much the Switch 2 is kicking ass, we're going to be the ones talking the tech at all the shows. We're going to be the ones telling people, hey, that's our technology doing that. Maybe use our stuff in those handheld PCs.
The Switch
Right.
2 is going to be the most developer-friendly console in Nintendo's history, hands down.
Why do you
easy.
think developers are so? Dude, why do we think every single insider with a source that says the developers are loving this thing? And you have like, what is it? Tom Henderson in 2023 saying, "Hey, whenever this thing's revealed and people can talk about it, you're going to see Switch 2 logos on almost every third-party game because you're going to be like, really, what? Like, there's even the biggest talk right now is will GTA 6 make it? I have no idea, but it's going to Xbox Series S. So if it's going to Series S, I don't know, maybe."
Have you seen how bad Series S looks when it's trying to do that's upscaling lately? It's not really bad. So like I actually think Switch 2 games are going to look better than a lot of Series S ports because of the upscaling.
I think people don't understand how easier it is for developers to use in a portable form, especially because we've seen the handheld PCs for a while and people are really happy with them and they're doing really well. I'm like, that's good. You haven't seen what NVIDIA can do in this space when they have an up-to-date system, and that's what Switch 2 is.
It blows my mind, man. Seriously, like I did so many tests, like in comparison, just in my own time, doing like ultra performance mode on DLSS from 1080p. Even that looks way better than anything FSR is doing. And that's only like a 540p. No, that's like a 360p rendering resolution from 1080p on the ultra performance mode, and even that looks pretty darn good considering.
Yeah. If you do what was that? I've done some tests like 540p to even 1440. I was like, dude, this isn't actually that bad. What?
Right.
What? That's 540p to 1440. Okay, yeah, at 4K it wasn't great, but 1440, I'm like, wait a second, let me load this native 1440. You know what?
Right.
It's not that big of a difference.
And you know what the funny thing is too is that people don't realize this as well. DLSS actually, if you do DLSS quality mode, like say some games will actually get to that level on Switch 2, that actually can look better than native because what it's actually doing is it's actually correcting some mistakes of the native resolution as well with AI. Because like a 1440p image or a 4K image is still going to have jaggies and like image issues with like certain things in the graphics that they can actually fix with DLSS. So like it's amazing that the technology and the new model they have with it, the transformer model is a literal game changer for PC. So for Switch 2, it's even better. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
But my big thing, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, back when I was a guest, before I was co-host.
Baby.
Back when I was a baby, before I was co-host of the greatest Nintendo podcast in at least 5 countries. I just want to mention that we have the statistics to back it up. So, anyways,
really,
don't act like you don't know, Nate. You've seen the studies.
I haven't looked at the by country numbers, but maybe.
I mean, but my big thing is that I don't care that much about power and graphics. It's never been at the priority anytime there's a new console launch. And I don't know if Nintendo necessarily had the foresight back when they made the Wii that game development was going to be so expensive and AAA games, hundreds of millions of dollars, and studios are going to be shutting down if they don't meet certain sales milestones. But it's worked out really well for Nintendo, not having these insane $500-600 million projects that are taking 5-6 years to develop with huge droughts. But that being said, all I've wanted with my hopes for power with Switch 2 is to have a console that's powerful enough to run third-party games without being packaged with an apology. Now, I think it's amazing we were able to get Hogwarts Legacy and The Witcher 3 and Doom even on the Switch. Really cool. It's amazing how well and how good those actually look. But, if you have the option, why wouldn't you go for, other than the portability factor, why wouldn't you go for it on a PlayStation or an Xbox or on PC? Because, those games, they lose a lot of the texture quality or the frame rate's a lot worse. So I've wanted Switch 2 to be just powerful enough to have those third-party experiences where the developers aren't saying, we just can't make it run good, or it's the performance isn't going to be there to make it worth it for people to want to buy. I want it good enough to run third-party games day and date, and it doesn't have to be the best looking version, but I think it should look as good, like was mentioned earlier, as good as the Series S would be fantastic. Fantastic. Even as good as PS4 Pro, or sorry, PS4 Pro, because when I think of the later years of the PlayStation 4, games like Ghost of Tsushima, games like God of War, which was that, cross-gen release, God of War Ragnarok, those PS4 games are stunning. Switch 2 can do that. So I fully expect to be floored by what I'm getting with mainline Nintendo games. And if it's anywhere near as good as PS4 Pro or Series S, I'm probably going to choose Switch 2 as my third party choice, considering as the hybrid functionality. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, it's like I said, it just has to look good enough. It doesn't need to be like, you're always going to have people that are going to go, I got to have the PS5 Pro. I got to have the super high-end PC. I got to have the best of the best. That's always going to be a thing for some. But that, if you think about it, that's a really niche part of the market that actually buys into that. That's not a majority of consumers. Majority of consumers are just on your base system. So I think it has to be good enough that the extra bells and whistles aren't that noticeable, which is, I mean, if you look at PS5, that's what happened with a lot of the games are on PS5 and on PS4, and then people comparing side by side, and yeah, the PS5 version's better, but it's not at a point that most people actually gave a shit. So it's gotta be that kind of thing where it's just good enough. It can't be like with Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, okay, it's lower frame rate, lower resolution, all that, but it also added zone loading, which literally exists in no other version of the game. And they had to do that because they couldn't get it to run on the memory in a full open world without zone loading, which is understandable. The fact that Zelda can do it is like, I don't know, Nintendo's wizards with their own hardware. It is what it is. But like, it's understandable why Hogwarts Legacy, and with what it's doing, yeah, it had to add zone loading. So it can't have a sacrifice like that. And then if it is at 30 FPS, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of AAA third-party games that aren't like the shooters and multiplayer that are going to be like, hey, we're single player, 30 is good enough. Let's push max visuals. Then lock that 30. No dips anymore. I don't want to see 15 FPS when I don't need to. Make the sacrifices you need to. Make that shit locked. And most people are fine in single-player experiences with locked 30 outside of games maybe like Elden Ring that are like really difficult and a bit more tricky with your reactions. Yeah, I'm not saying 60 is not better in all situations. It is. 60 is amazing. Better than 60 is amazing. But most consumers locked 30 with pretty damn good looking visuals that look comparable enough, they'll be happy.
Yep.
Yeah, the biggest thing about Switch 2 is it's going to have the graphics are not going to be distracting. So no more Vaseline filter. Like even when they're rendering at a lower resolution, upscaling, it's still going to look clean because that's the magic of DLSS. Even if it's rendering at 540p, the image output is going to look clean on your screen. You may have some little bit of artifacts here and there on the actual graphics from the rendering so low of a resolution, but the actual image quality is not going to have that Vaseline, like smeared look like the Switch had. On top of that, you had extreme compromises in graphics, missing, having the graphics load right in front of your face, like in Sonic Frontiers. Like the game was like trying to render it in front of you as you're running through the level. Like that kind of stuff is going to be, that's done. There's no more of that stuff on Switch 2.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it specifically. It was, other than the performance, it's that Vaseline look that you see on so many of those games where it just kind of looks like your screen is just smudged over. Everything's a little bit blurry, a little bit washed out. Colors aren't vibrant. Textures are blurred into each other.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's actually a disservice to the artists who created the games. Like some even Nintendo's own first party games, because they have to render the games at such a low resolution. You're missing a lot of the detail that the art actually has when they created the game. So even Switch 1 backwards compatibility games that are running in high resolutions on Switch 2, those will benefit from the art. Will you actually be able to see more of the art that they created? It's all good.
Absolutely.
Looks like they're having a meeting.
Oh, geez.
It's my performance review.
Yeah.
You're fired.
We multitask around here. We got business trips coming up, and like we're trying to get things booked up.
Yeah,
That being
likely story, pal.
Dash,
Just
you got any thoughts here or any additional questions?
No, I'm just excited. Game Bird, you asked a lot of good questions. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gamer, you ask, we need that layman questions, man.
That's a great question in the chat from Wilberforce Wooster. Can DLSS get rid of Turok Fog on NSO?
I saw that.
Yes, it can.
I love it.
No.
DLSS
That's
everything.
that's part of the fun with that game. You gotta have the fogs. You get scared of the dinosaurs that pop out at you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's artistic expression. It's abstract art.
All right. Well, I think we move to our next topic then, Game Bird.
Boom, bam. So, I recently flew back to 2017 and the launch of the Nintendo Switch. And what a year for a console launch. We got Breath of the Wild and we got Mario Odyssey. Two of the biggest and best Switch games to this day, going on 8 years, right? Going on 8 years into the console's life. But I was thinking, Switch 2, a lot of us kind of predicted or speculated would be revealed and even launched sooner than it has. There's been speculation about the different reasons for that. Some them wanting to manufacture, want to avoid issues with people not being able to get consoles. Some of them speculation around Nintendo wanting to have a strong early lineup of software. They learned a lot with the launch of Switch and the power of having big launch games out the gate that first year. And a lot of their big studios have been kind of quiet for some time. The Switch is winding down. We know we have that huge direct coming April 2nd. We know we're going to get the blowout. We're going to see the UI. We're going to probably see the new Pro controller. We're going to see all the bells and whistles. We're going to see mouse mode demonstrated, kind of like how we got the Joy-Con HD Rumble demonstrations. But the software is the big one. The software is the heart of every console. And I personally feel like this could easily, despite me in 2017 being like, there's no way they beat this because this is the ultimate launch year. Breath of the Wild is a Wii U game. Everyone bought the Switch for Breath of the Wild at launch. But Mario Odyssey was truly the big experience. We already know we're getting a new Mario Kart. It's most likely the launch game. It's possible that Metroid Prime 4 is getting a Switch 2 version that might launch day alongside Mario Kart. We don't know. Might be launch window. Might be later within the first 12 months, but Metroid Prime 4 is coming. I think it's a safe bet that we're probably going to see the next big 3D Mario game and what they're able to do with the new tech. Those are 3 powerhouse titles for core Nintendo fans, and that's ignoring third-party support, which I think we all agree is probably going to be a lot stronger for Switch 2 than it was for Switch 1 out of the gate. And I'm sure there's a lot of developers out there who wish they kind of jumped on that Switch bandwagon sooner, not realizing after the failure of Wii U how popular and powerful the Switch brand was going to be. So my question is, do you guys think, your honest predictions, will Switch 2 be the best 12 months, first 12 months launch year of a Nintendo console? And just to add a little flavor, outside of Mario Kart and new 3D Mario and Prime 4, what 4th or 5th game do you expect to drop in that year? Even if it's not as big as Mario, whether it's a new Splatoon or whatever. That's my question for you guys. More importantly, will it be the best launch year?
Yes. Next.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Podcast over. Gamebird signing out.
I'll say, look, I think it's going to, obviously there's a lot of subjectiveness to this. Like, I'm a huge Zelda guy. There's probably not a big 3D brand new Zelda game year one. It's probably not happening. We're probably not getting that until middle of the generation, right? That doesn't mean we won't get some sort of Zelda or a remaster. Heck, would I prefer an Ocarina of Time from the ground up remake? That would be sick. I don't, but I it's one of those. I'm going to be realistic and say, okay, we don't get any of that. If maybe we get the Wind Waker HD and it's on Switch and it's 4K on Switch 2 or something, which would be cool. But okay, yeah, it's the Wind Waker. I love it, but it's not really moving the needle for me. I'm saying, oh, this is an amazing launch year because we got Wind Waker. So if you're somebody that's like, hey, I need that big 3D Zelda, I don't have that year one, automatically 2017 is better. I get it. But you got to remember what's happening. Well, Mario Kart 8 was the biggest game on Switch, and that game was technically a game in 2014 on Wii U. So instead, now we get a new Mario Kart with new mechanics and new tracks and 24 racers and potential pit stops and other things going on that they've never done before in Mario Kart. That's exciting. We have not had a brand new, actual, like, standard Mario Kart. I'm saying standard. Yeah, we had Tour, we had Home Circuit, fine. But in regular console Mario Kart, it's been over a decade. And credit to Nintendo. They did incredible things with 8 Deluxe. I did never expected them to do the DLC they did late in the Switch's life for it. That was incredible. They basically doubled the size of the game. Just awesome. Like, Nintendo did right by Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and it's very obvious why they never put a new Mario Kart outside of Home Circuit on Switch. Because again, why would you? 8 was selling like gangbusters because nobody owned a Wii U. So to most consumers, this was a new Mario Kart. That being said, we have a brand new one for the first time as a Nintendo fan for me in 11 years. That's insane. All right, 3D Mario. Again, not 11 years, but it's been since 2017. You can count Bowser's Fury if you want, but that wasn't a full game. It was like a demo, a very good demo. Full brand new main team working years and years on this, and 3D Mario almost always delivers. I'm almost never let down by 3D Mario. That team is incredible. It's one of the best development teams out there. Like, I know the Astrobot just won a Game of the Year, and I'm really happy for them, and it's an incredible game. But even in their own speech, they couldn't help but give Mario credit. They couldn't help it because they're the ace in the hole in that genre. They always deliver. So I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, fine. We had that on Switch, right? We had a new 3D. Odyssey's incredible. It's my favorite 3D Mario right now. So awesome. But I think there's going to be more. It's not just Mario Kart, not just that. And even Metroid Prime 4. Look, I'm really excited for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I don't know if it's going to be cross-gen. It might just be a Switch title. So I'm not sure if I can count it yet for Switch 2. I think we'll be able to. I think that's the one because of the mouse mode. I think the mouse mode's like, yeah, we got to get that launch day to show off the mouse. I think that would be a really good get to show that off. So I think Nintendo might have 3 launch titles. I think they'll have they'll have Metroid Prime 4 to show off the mouse mode, plus hit on the super, super hardcore fan. Then you have the Mario Kart that just hits on everyone because everyone loves Mario Kart. And then they'll have a different one, some sort of party, casual, either like a 1-2 Switch situation, or what I think they should do, another Switch sports game at launch. And you might go, Nate, that's a lot of games to put at launch. Well, I'm like, look, Metroid Prime 4 is not an evergreen game. Metroid's never been evergreen. But the sports game and the Mario Kart, those are going to sell for the next 6-7 years. Like, Nintendo's not worried that there's no install base day one. That Nintendo's not like the other companies. They don't care. So year one, they're going to want to hit you with evergreen titles. So this is where you start to go, okay, what evergreen titles could there be? I don't think Splatoon will be the first 12 months. I do think we could get a Splatoon 4 by the end of 2026, but it won't be in the first 12 months because they've proven they want to put multiple Splatoons out. So they want to get one out early in the gen so they can get one out late in the gen. But I think that we can't take Animal Crossing off the table. Animal Crossing it came out in 2020. It's been 5 years, and they barely did anything with the DLC. They barely supported the game after it came out. So I feel like there's a good chance that maybe an Animal Crossing's ready. There could be a Luigi's Mansion ready to go. Luigi's Mansion 4 already won. Remember how incredible 3 looked on Switch? Imagine what they're going to do with 4. It's going to be gangbusters. That could be in year one. See, Nintendo averaged putting out a game per month. I think there will be, even though I do think Nintendo will probably support Switch 1 upgrades, it might not be blanket across the board. It might be on a per title basis. We'll see how Nintendo handles it. I do think there will also still be certain games they go the extra mile for, and they say, no, we're not just using DLSS and giving you, better frame rates and resolution. We actually want to throw some ray tracing in this sumbitch. We want to actually put brand new textures in the game. We want to actually maybe do more. And that's where the things where we hear about the U-King-O with the Breath of the Wild and the instant loading, and all, like maybe that they release that as a standalone. I hope it's a patch, but if they release that as a standalone, I could see something like that happening, especially if they don't have another big Zelda ready to go. Maybe they package Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild together for like $60, but they give them that special treatment where it's just the best possible deluxe versions they can even give you of those games. So like people can't. So when you look up 4K Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on YouTube, it's no longer dominated by Simu. It's dominated by, hey, actually, Nintendo gave an even better looking version than all these fan created texture packs and ray tracing packs. And then I think, Nintendo likes to balance things out. So there's going to be like an exclusive third party game that worked on some sort of Nintendo IP. We had Mario plus Rabbids before in year one of Switch. I don't know if Ubisoft is going to be the one this time because they're not doing too hot. There'll be a combo pack of probably both the Rabbids games, but I'm not counting that that's just them re-releasing Switch games. But I think there's going to be something. I don't know which studio it's going to be, but I could see Star Fox coming back year one from a third-party studio. Maybe it's Bandai Namco because they got dedicated studios for Nintendo there. I don't know. I'm just throwing them out as a possibility. Obviously, Platinum Games has dabbled in Star Fox in the past as well. So maybe, just throwing that out there as some possibilities. And then the only other thing that I really see in terms of like maybe a big game year one, I just float this out there. I don't think it's year one, but it might be a new Smash Bros. And I put it out there because we found out towards the end of the YouTube series that Sakurai pre-recorded all that stuff 2 years prior. Yep. All those videos were actually from 2 years ago. And what did he say in one of the later videos? Oh, hey, yeah, we're wrapping things up because I got to go work on a new game. But he said that in a video that he recorded 2 years ago, meaning he's been working on something for at least 2 to 3 years, probably the next Smash. And remember, we got Smash Bros. Super early in the Switch's life, 2018. It was year 2. Well, year 1.8 or whatever, right? So I'm really thinking that that is actually a realistic possibility. I'm just throwing this up quick because he brings it up every week and I love it.
Oh, is it a Blitz and Jam?
Let's get that shit in year one. Let's get brand new ones in year one. Let's go. Nintendo doesn't have a say on that, but let's do it. Anyways, so that's me. And maybe you guys probably argue I'm pipe dreaming by talking about it, but like I even got to Monolith Soft, which could have something ready. Like Nintendo's teams have been churning, and if you look at the Nintendo Switch, it was Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, Mario Wonder, and then we haven't gotten anything from their A teams in a while.
It's been a long time. A lot of studios pretty quiet.
And I agree with most of that, Nate. So yeah, new 3D Mario for a holiday, I would say. If Switch 2 is launching in the summertime, then you're going to have a lot of third-party ports that they missed out on in the launch window, and then for a holiday, you'll have a lot of the new games coming out for third parties. But for first party, I would say Metroid Prime 4, either launch day or launch window in the first 3 months. And then, of course, Mario Kart 9, launch day or launch window, first 3 months. And then holiday, you got the new 3D Mario game. And then to pepper in the new Star Fox game, it is rumored that it could be a return to the Star Fox Adventures formula, which I'm a fan of personally. I would love that because Star Fox needs like a reboot, and that would kind of like be something familiar yet new at the same time for people. I would love that. And the best way to reintroduce like a franchise like Star Fox, I would say, is to have it be in the first year of the console. You got a fresh start, fresh beginning for the series, and you place it next to like a 3D Mario within like 2 months, and eyes are going to be on that game, and you could have a really nice rebooting success for Star Fox. And then maybe in December, you could have Monolith Soft's new gigantic game that they've been working on. Who knows? Maybe it's Golden Sun. Maybe they're going to be bringing back Golden Sun. I know, pipe dream, but I'm just saying, like, that would be amazing, because I think a lot of people, I mean, personally, I'm a little bit burned out on all the Xenoblades. It'd be nice to have them dabble in a different RPG series like Golden Sun and reboot that. But that's just my opinion. I know some people want to have played Xenoblade for the rest of their life. That's great. But we're getting Chronicles X next month. So maybe take a break from Xenoblade a little bit and give us something new. And what a great way to do that in the first year of the Switch 2. And I do think this could be Nintendo's biggest selling console first year of all time, because Nintendo's going to go wild with stock. And Switch 1 sold about, what was it, 13 million in its first fiscal year, right?
Somewhere around that.
I think it was 13 to 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So I think Switch 2 is going to obliterate that, which is a guarantee that's going to be their best selling console of all time in their first year. So I think that's almost like a safe bet.
Yeah, analysts have it between 19 to 24 mil. I think that's easy.
That's insane.
Yeah, we're saying that's easy, and I just said that's easy, but also no system's ever done that in the history of consoles.
Yeah, but we can see it happening because look at the momentum this thing has. You have an 8-year supported console with lots of happy fans who are ready to throw down their cash for the next console day one. They're not going to have enough. So this thing is going to be sound like the best hotcakes that you've ever seen.
And then you have
and I've seen a lot of hotcakes. Let me tell you. I've seen a lot of them.
Nintendo creates a lot of consistency. They show consistency with their game release pattern over the Switch gen. If they maintain that somehow, and look, guys, we haven't even got to April 2nd. When they show the games, you think the fever is bad right now? They just teased a little hardware, which a bunch of stuff we pretty much already knew. At least the hardcore did, not the general audience. The general audience now knows, and it's like, okay. When I literally still, when I go to places like Walmart and I'm in the game section and I'm just kind of walking around the Switch area glancing at stuff, I always get someone walking up to me, hey man, did you hear about the Switch 2? Dude, that shit was back in January. You're still talking about that?
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen after April 2nd? And by the way, 2 days after that, fans get to go hands-on. Like it's going to move fast once we get to April 2nd. Because it's going to be
of course, unless it's released on April 3rd, like the rumor says, right?
Well, that's really fast then.
It's not happening.
That's fast. It's not happening until I think the closest for the release would be that 2-week window where there isn't a fan event in May. That's the closest possible, but I think June's probably more likely. But I could see the 2-week window May because the final events in Seoul, and they didn't get switched to like a year later last time. So like maybe that's not a country that's day and date with other ones. So like maybe they get it launched in June and everyone else gets it in May. I don't know. The Switch 2 experience, the Nintendo Switch experience, they actually ran that until 2 days after Switch launched. So that's why people are kind of like, oh, well, they could still have one after Switch 2 launches.
Yeah, but remember what Furukawa just said, though.
Yeah, I know.
He said he's waiting to see what people's response is to the direct before deciding on how much stock they're going to increase and blah, blah, blah. They haven't even announced. That's not happening. Just stop, people in the chat. Like, seriously.
We'll see what happens. We'll see. People are just excited. Want this thing.
Also, Super Metal Dave hates Xenoblade Chronicles, confirmed on this show.
No, I definitely don't.
I'm kidding.
Xenoblade Chronicles X was my favorite Wii U game, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think overall for the series itself, it's a bit overplayed at this point. They need to dabble in something else to freshen, give Xenoblade a break, and then bring it back and make it fresh again.
Sure.
What
about you, Stash? Do you think that? Oh, and I want to reiterate as well. I'm talking the first 12 months of Switch 2, not just to the end of the holiday.
Yeah.
That full year out on the market.
Yeah, I'll reiterate. I know Dave said Mario for holidays. I think Mario's in the first 12 months, but I think it's around the Mario movie in April.
Oh, certainly possible.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I also laid out a whole shitload of big games. They could have Smash for the holidays for all I know.
Okay.
So, Stash, man, what are we thinking?
All right. So first, I just want to say this is a great question. So thank you for bringing this topic. This definitely made me think. So I wrote a couple things down. First thought I had was, well, it depends on if we're going to get Zelda in the first 12 months, right? Immediately. But then I was like, well, let me go a little deeper on this, right? Mario Kart, yes. Expect that. 3D Mario, expect that. I would expect it to come out this year because of it being the 40th anniversary. I think you got to capitalize on that and then ride it into the movie. And then you'll get more sales leading up to the movie and more sales after the movie. This is my thought on that. Metroid Prime 4. Yeah, I expect it. I expect it to either be at launch or a launch window game. So those are the heavy hitters right off the bat. But then we got to kind of think about some other things, right? And I actually pulled up my list of games I was thinking about from 2 weeks ago from the podcast. And I'm just kind of looking at everything here. And so before I get into that, what I'll also touch on is how the Switch 1 games are going to run. Because if they're improved, then that already makes, I think, the first year really exciting, right? Because all of these games you already own are now going to play better, or select games are going to play better, right? Maybe it's first party games. Third parties have the option to do it, just like we've seen on PlayStation 5. So I thought about that. I'm like, well, that would be really fun because then you already got a bunch of games that, maybe you haven't got to. Maybe they're in your backlog and it's like, now I can go play them in a much better way, right? They look better. The frame rate's better. So that's something that I think we got to factor in. Then I thought about NSO, right? What's going to happen with NSO? Are we going to get new consoles on NSO? I would presume. They sent out that email saying to look forward to, what's to come in 2025. So I factored that in as well, because these are all things that are going to be new right when you get the console within that first 12 months. So if I'm getting Switch games that are running better, plus the games we already feel like we know, not factoring in other first-party titles yet, so there's room for surprises. And sure, it would be great to see, something like Star Fox, right? Or Donkey Kong. I mean, we can go down the list of all the IPs that we would love to see. But I'm saying, like, even if we got those right there, plus the Switch 1 patches, the NSO, and then when I think about the third-party games and the amount of heavy hitters that are going to come out in those first 12 months, it's like, I mean, that would be insane first year. Like, some of the games I had on this list, Elden Ring, we all talked about that. Elden Ring Complete Edition. Night Rain, of course. Night Rain's coming out on PS4 as well. So I expect us to get Complete Edition and then Night Rain a little bit later on. Space it out a little bit. Assassin's Creed, right? Probably going to get Mirage. Flight Simulator. That's on deck.
Not to cut you off, Stash. I feel like Ubisoft is just going to start dumping games onto the Switch too. Like there's no tomorrow. I would not be surprised.
Tomorrow they have to.
Yeah, I would not be surprised in that April Direct for them to be like, oh, and guess what? Every Assassin's Creed is coming to Switch too. Every one.
Well, Ubisoft already has been dumping for the last 20 years, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I also look at it this way. Like, I don't know if you guys kind of keep tabs on some of the Assassin's Creed titles. I'm not talking about the new one coming out, but for example, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Origins, and Syndicate. Over the last 5 years, they've all been patched to run 60 FPS 4K. on PS5,
Nice.
and the patches were for free. So I think about that. I'm like, that'd be great to bring over to Switch too. So I could see those games coming over. Again, they're probably going to space them out. I do think we're going to get Halo Master Chief Collection.
Heck yeah. That'd be sick.
And and you'd expect something like that in the first 12 months. Sea of Thieves, of course. There's other games that would make people happy, like Minecraft, the Minecraft crowd, Doom, the Dark Ages. We know we're getting Call of Duty.
That's for sure. Doom.
Yeah. Dark
Yeah,
Ages looks really awesome.
No, Dark Ages is going to look great.
Dude, it looks so sick, dude. I'm so excited for that game. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
It is.
Oh. I can't wait, guys. Like that game comes out, I'll probably be doing a live stream on Switch 2 that night, and I'll be ripping demons apart. It's gonna be sick.
Let's go.
I'd expect Resident Evil 4 remake
Yep.
to make it over. Obviously, we all know how RE4 was, GameCube exclusive for a short period of time back in the day. That was a huge deal getting those Capcom 5, even though we didn't get all of them. Some of them were canceled. Street Fighter 6, again, Street Fighter does really well on Switch. If you look at the sales of, what was it, Ultra Street Fighter 2?
Great game.
Yeah, great game. Older game. Sold gangbusters. Baldur's Gate 3, again, another great game for mouse controls as well. Diablo 4. Diablo sold really well on Switch, right? Red Dead 2.
I have Diablo 3 on PC, PS5, and Switch, and I've played Diablo 3 significantly more on the Switch. Even though it's not quite as pretty, doesn't run quite as fast, having Diablo portable is the best shit ever. Like, no joke. So I will totally double dip on D4 if it comes to Switch too.
That's a really good game for portable play. Red Dead 2. We already know Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. I do think Hades 2 is going to make it to Switch 2. I think it's going to come out of early access and make its way over to Switch 2 within the first year. I do think we're going to get an update on Hollow Knight Silksong. And I know that's the game that everyone thinks you're crazy if you think it's coming out, but it's got to come out sooner or later. And coming out within the first 12 months of Switch 2 would probably be a great time. Probably going to sell really well. I think Indiana Jones will come to Switch 2. No doubt. With the DLC. DLC comes out in spring. It's probably going to launch the same time, the DLC, that it comes out on PS5. And by the time it would hit Switch 2, we might actually get a complete edition, which would be really nice, because that is a hell of a game.
I thought I'm not trying to interrupt, but I thought the question was about first-party games, because I think all the third-party games are coming.
All of them.
But like you're gonna be here all day listing all these games. I'm just saying, because it's basically everything.
Was it about first party only?
I'm supposed to be the villain.
Yeah. Game Bird was asking about first party games, I believe.
Yeah, if it's about first party only, I
just meant it. I was a little bit vague about it. It was kind of a general question.
It's all good though. I agree with you.
Do we think software wise, Switch 2 is going to have the best first 12 months out of any Nintendo console?
I mean,
or any console for that matter.
What Dave was trying to say is, Steve, shut the fuck up.
I did not say that.
No, I know.
He wrote it though on his notepad.
Yeah.
It's fine. No, I understand. But overall, because like I said, I thought you were talking about all software.
That's messed up.
And that's what you said, right? All software.
Wait, what was said, or Stash's list? What's
he was talking about first party games, like he's comparing it to the first year of the Switch, how many first party heavy hitters they had. It wasn't anything really about third party.
Oh, I thought the question was if you thought the first year of Switch 2 could be the best year software.
Yeah, and then he talked about first party games, like which first party games. Anyway, yeah. It's fine.
They both count.
At any
All right,
rate-
break it up, guys. Break it up.
I will
This
say
is
this.
podcast, okay.
I'll say this.
The reason why I said is because that's another topic. I think third-party games, because we could
You-
talk about that all day.
YouTuber boxing match.
Yeah.
Let's get this set up.
I'll just say this to end this, that I think the first year, given everything that I just mentioned, would be an insane year, even without a new Zelda.
I agree.
Yeah. And I do think we get Zelda in 2026
Okay.
because it's the 40th anniversary. You got to make that happen.
Ocarina of Time, baby.
That's what I would like.
Ocarina of Time.
And to Super Mario Dave's point, we'll make a third-party topic for next week or something.
Yeah, because I still got more on the list, so
No,
I'll just carry it over.
You were just at like the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's more. Trust me. And like a lot of us think pretty much everything's coming. So there's a huge
Right.
list of games to go over.
Right.
Okay,
I
Eric.
think the most impressive part, real quick, is your ability to make the list that fast. The topic we didn't discuss this topic at all. It was a dealer's choice random topic, and you nailed that.
Do you
shit.
understand? This is the man who has like 57 or 58
Legendary.
games in a video not that long ago about all the games he's anticipating this year.
True.
You could just start listing all those as coming to Switch.
Yeah.
So he's
I
already
know.
for list for
I
list.
I need some list tips because I always go blank when I make a list. I'm like, on the show that I was on when we had to do our like top 10 Switch games, I think it was. I was like panicking. I was like, what came out on Switch again? So, but anyways, Eric,
Yeah.
thoughts.
God, I hope it is, but part of me's saying it's not going to be. I don't know why, but it's just, god dang, how many freaking big games came out when the Switch came out? I for first party, anyways. I mean, third
The
party,
year one.
everybody
yeah.
coming back in with third party. Oh shit, that could be huge. But first party, I don't know how you can match up with 2017.
Look, he's worried we won't get another ARMS, guys.
Yeah.
That's what he's
Damn
worried
straight.
about.
Damn,
Shit.
that theme song though was so good. If you
Yes,
guys remember. it was
Well,
so
I
good.
actually like ARMS. I'm not making fun of it. I'm just like, it's like I kept trying to think, like, if you think about that first year, like all the big hitters they had, there was a lot of games, but only like 4 of them were big hitters. It was just a lot of games. You had ARMS, you
Yeah.
had Fire Emblem Warriors, you had Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, but like those aren't considered like the big hitters. You know, like the big hitters were Zelda, Mario, a port of Mario Kart. That was just a port. Mario Kart.
Yeah.
You know, Splatoon 2. Like those were like the big ones. Everything else was kind of smaller. So I'm like, man, they're gonna have at least 4 big hitters. They might have more than that. That's my opinion. But Eric, it's fine. We need a dissenter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Take the villain role, Eric.
Part of me is just feeling that it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very, very hard to match up first party wise. So
Well, you're entitled to your opinion.
What about sales,
However,
though?
you're completely wrong.
you might be right. I gotta say, I'm on the side of I think this is going to be the best 12 months for a first year on the market for a Nintendo console, and here's why. Zelda's my favorite series of all time, and it's not even close. Nothing comes close. In Breath of the Wild, my
new
hype
co-host?
factor.
Is another Zelda guy. I did this wrong. Shit. I'm just kidding, man.
Nothing comes close to it, but I do have to factor in that it was also a Wii U game, first and foremost. If I couldn't get my hands on a Switch at launch, rest assured, I'm a happy camper because I'm playing Breath of the Wild day one on my Wii U. That being said, we already know we're getting a brand new Mario Kart. We're likely getting that brand new big open world, maybe open world, but mainline 3D Mario. Like Nate said earlier, that team is one of the best in the industry. So I can't wait to see what they've cooked up. Those two right there. Now, Prime 4 is interesting because we know Prime 4 is a Switch game. But here's the difference. Here's kind of why I separate this from Zelda. Prime's not a big seller. It's awesome for us big, like hardcore Nintendo fans and Metroid fans. But I feel like the jump from Switch to Switch 2 visually is going to have a much bigger impact than the jump from Wii U to Switch. And that leaves Metroid Prime 4 the opportunity to kind of have that next-gen Nintendo wow factor. Not to say that Breath of the Wild wasn't gorgeous, because it is a beautiful game. I love the art style, the cell shading, just the whole style with the thick blades of grass moving in the wind and the fog rolling in. Gorgeous game, but I think there's going to be a wow factor. Speculating that Prime 4 is coming to Switch 2, or that there will be a Switch 2 version of the title that really pushes the hardware. That being said, I expect other titles that have been dormant, like I mentioned earlier, some of these studios that have been radio silent, they've been working on some big stuff for Switch 2. We've got the Fire Emblem series. What's going on with Fire Emblem? Fire Emblem has grown so much in popularity, especially with Three Houses, the best Fire Emblem in my opinion. Love to see what they do with that series. Star Fox has been mentioned both by Super Metal Dave and I think Stash, and maybe Nate, you mentioned it as well. I feel like Switch 2, some of these studios are going to be like, how can we reinvent the wheel a little bit with some of these dormant series? I think Star Fox fits into that category where, like Dave said earlier, maybe it revisits that kind of Star Fox adventure vibe, or takes on more of a Ratchet and Clank type feel and game design. Strongest focus on ship combat and space exploration, but also sprinkles in that land kind of adventure feel. And then Splatoon. What's cooking with Splatoon? They have a pretty quick turnover. I imagine after Splatoon 3, they're like, okay, we've kind of iterated on the last two games. Now it's time to kind of branch off and go a little bit bigger and better. I think we're going to start to see bigger and better with a lot of these IPs, not just because we have new hardware that's more capable, more powerful, but also because they've seen the success of doing that with some of their other series, Zelda being the big one, where they kind of reinvent the series to great success. Those things aside, I don't want to anger Super Metal Dave any further, but I do think third party. just kidding. I do think third party is going to be super strong this first year compared to past Nintendo.
Nope, can't mention that third party stuff.
Fine.
All right.
Leaving out third party, I'm going to say we had to wait. Stash, you mentioned NSO. We had to wait, and then it was kind of a trickle in. Well, NSO is already established. Maybe we get GameCube, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, who knows, DS, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think year one Switch 2 is going to freaking punch you in the face. And, we'll see. Time will tell. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Nate and Eric will sit on the throne of victory and Switch 2 won't, soar on the wings of Nintendo godhood. But I don't know. I think we're in for a treat.
What if we still get a Zelda in the first 12 months, but it's the Breath of the Wild upgraded?
I mean, that kicks ass.
Yeah. Like, that is a way to still get a Zelda in the first 12 months. Granted, it's not new, but it plays new.
Or they do bundle Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Switch 2.
I mean, Tears
Master Collection.
That'd be cool to play Tears, upgrade it, but yeah.
Have they ever done that before? Bundle two Zelda games together? Besides, was it Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask?
Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Yeah, that was the last time.
I just don't see them doing that because they like getting their individual sales on games. But hey, you never know.
I agree. I don't think we get a double pack. I think those days are over. But if we did, I mean, great for us, right? Sure. I would love to see it.
I think if they do it, they might charge $70. But hey, you're getting two.
$35 each.
It's not bad. That's if they do. They do it. All right. So I think we could probably move on. Stash. What are we talking about? It's our only non-Switch 2 topic, right?
Yeah, so this is in regards to the Switch 1 Direct. And as we know, we've had the Switch Direct or Nintendo Direct in February for many consecutive years. And as each day goes by, more and more people lose faith on the internet as if it's not going to happen. I mean, I think even after the first week of February, just after the first week went by, I feel like half the hype train fell off and just thought it wasn't going to happen anymore. So this is in regards to that. And this is on Jeff Grubb's podcast. It's the last of the Nintendogs.
Yep, that was the one. Yep.
Yeah, and I've listened to the podcast a few times. And again, I listened to it today at the gym. And, it wasn't a long excerpt, but he did say that he heard there would still be a Nintendo Direct this month and that it is a pretty reliable source and that he followed up with them to see if it's still happening. And they said, yeah, there would be one this month. And he says it's a good source. Now, he kind of talked about like what it could be as far as a general direct, mini direct, partner direct.
It's exactly what you want. You want to talk more about third-party games?
Yeah, right. No, not on Switch 1.
I'm sorry, but he's got to run with the theme now. Yeah,
I agree.
Brutal.
He did mention that there could be a few surprises sprinkled in. Like, you wouldn't be surprised if there's a few surprises sprinkled in. And, I've really kind of felt that we got to get Metroid Prime 2 and 3 out the door. And just as we talked about with double packs, I don't know that they would treat Prime 2 and 3 like Pikmin 1 and 2. I just don't know. I think they could release them individually, but at the same time, Metroid's a series that you want to try and get everyone involved and bought in to this original trilogy, right? So maybe you do double pack it. Maybe you do in this scenario because you want to increase the sales of Metroid Prime 4. So that is my only thought for the direct of like what I would like to see. And obviously, yeah, we're going to get some third-party stuff, but first and foremost, are you guys buying the grub? Are you checking into the Grubhub?
I don't know about the Grubhub, but so here's what I'll just put it this way. I do think that there will be a direct, and I think it's next week. I've been saying this all month that I thought it was going to be the week before the Pokemon Direct. Since COVID, a lot of their directs have been in the second half of the month, and it just sort of, they've done it before. They've done it the week before the Pokemon Direct before. Also, there was that state of play that was, that we did get this week that was previously rumored for this week. And I know Nintendo Directs and state of plays have even happened the same day before, but I kind of feel like we're in an industry now, especially with Sony and Microsoft bringing some of their games cross-platform, that the companies communicate more than ever and kind of know when their events are going on, so they can kind of navigate to like have their own week for their own stuff. Unless it's obviously in June where you're trying to pack everything a little bit closer together. I kind of felt like Nintendo was targeting that third week this whole time. Because I do think there will be a dedicated Switch 1 Direct still, because the bottom line is Switch 2 ain't coming out till maybe the earliest June. If you wanna get smirky and think May, fine. Still, that's months away. And they have nothing releasing after Xenoblade then. There's literally nothing. Nothing on slate. There's nothing scheduled to actually come out with a release date. They're not just going to sit there for 3-4 months and not have a game come out. That's not Nintendo. They're not going to wait 3-4 months they're just not going to do that. They like to make money. And look, third parties are still going to be bringing games to Switch. It's a huge platform, a huge audience, and now a lot of really big Nintendo games aren't going to be eating up the calendar as much anymore. Great time to get some older ports over that maybe Nintendo fans haven't played, that maybe you have a newer game coming over to Switch 2, introduce the audience. It's a great time for third parties and indies as well. So I think that there absolutely is a direct. The question is what kind of direct it's going to be, and no one's been clear on this. PH Brazil was the first one to say there'll be a direct in February. He said this last year. He's been very consistent, and he's reiterated this month. He hasn't heard any different, and this is like the same source that told him about all those August events, and he was the only person talking about those August events, and everyone doubted him, and then they literally happened exactly the way he said they would. Cool. But he's not right on everything, because he also heard that the Switch 2 would come out in March, and it's not coming out in March, right? So I think that PH Brazil's source for the direct is probably accurate. Now you have Jeff Grubb, finally a second person. We've been waiting this whole time for like a second person to kind of be like they've heard independent of PH Brazil that there's a direct. Jeff Grubb, he's fairly reliable. He's kind of learned over the years not to run with certain things too early. He's been burned. He's had to shave his head. He's had numerous punishments he's taken on because he's spoken a little too early about things. I don't think he brought that up this week and said it this week if he wasn't very confident in the source, and probably it being next week. And I only say that because the Pokemon Presents is the week after. So that being the case, I think there is one. I think it's going to have, I think we'll see Metroid Prime 4. I think it's going to be there. Even if Metroid Prime 4 ends up in the Switch 2 direct, I think they'll still show it because it's already announced. We know it's a Switch 1 game, and we haven't seen it since June of last year. So like we're kind of overdue to see the game again. So I think it'll be there, and maybe they even show off something new. Maybe there's a new mode in the game. Maybe there's some open world sections we haven't seen yet. So they I think there's a lot they could show. They really barely showed us anything in Metroid Prime 4. There's a lot they could show us. I don't think Legends ZA will be there because I'm pretty sure they'll say that as like the big game for the Pokemon Presents or Direct or whatever the next week. So I think they'll leave that out. But I mean, they might advertise for some reason in there that it's going to be there. I don't even think they're going to do that because Pokemon Presents will be announced like literally within days after this event. So I do think that Nintendo's probably got one more game that's now a port or remaster. Like I think they're going to have some remasters. I think like a Wind Waker HD could get announced here. You can see a shadow drop of Metroid Prime 1 and 2. Potentially. If not shadow dropped, at least maybe 2 and 3. Not 1 and 2. 1 already got out. But maybe they shadow drop 2 and then they announce 3's coming out like next month or something. Maybe if they want to spread them out. But I do think that there's going to be one more new game. I don't think it's going to be like a really big game, like a big system selling kind of game. I think that's ZA, that's Metroid Prime 4, and that's kind of the big ones they have left for the system. But I think it's going to be something that's going to make people happy. It could just be a Donkey Kong, because that's been rumored forever. Maybe a side-scrolling Donkey Kong or something. That would be nice. We haven't had a new one of those. I mean, look, we had Tropical Freedom. Yeah, guys, that was Wii U and like Wii. Okay, those aren't new games. We haven't had a new side-scrolling Donkey Kong game in forever. So yeah, I'll even be happy if we got one of those. But something like that, or maybe they're I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like spitballing some other franchises they haven't really touched in a while. Maybe a new Punch Out for some reason. But it's not going to be like a system seller, but it's going to be just a nice little, wow, hey, Nintendo still had one little last surprise for us for Switch. It's kind of cool. It's going to make people are going to feel good about that announcement and not feel like it's an announcement that like, oh man, they should have held that game back for Switch 2. It'd be so much better on Switch 2. No, that's why I said something like a side-scrolling Donkey Kong where it's like, okay, Switch 2 is not really going to make that game better. Like not realistically gameplay wise. It's going to be, it'll look better visually, but okay, we can see why they would put that on Switch 1. Something like that. And then I think it's supposed to be third parties. I'm not going to go down a list of third parties. You don't need to set Dave off again, but
I could see the steam coming out of his ears right now.
But there's going to be a bevy of third parties, and I'm only going to mention one specific because they themselves have been kind of teasing that they're kind of getting to the end. I think finally Silk Song gets shown with a release date. I know what's going on in a limb because people say that every indie world and every direct and every Xbox event and every state of play. And it just doesn't happen. But they've been teasing on social media. They've been active on social media again. They've been acting like they're near the finish line. And I feel like it's because they know they have this release date announcement coming up. And they decided to do it with Nintendo, even though it's going to Xbox Game Pass, probably going to be on PlayStation, because Nintendo was the first system they announced it for, and they had a demo for it back at E3 2019. So they feel like bring it full circle. We announced the release date at a Nintendo event. I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd get a lot of attention at a time when everyone's waiting for the Switch 2 Direct. People would get really excited about it. And it's probably a game coming out before Switch 2, I would venture, if that was the case. So I think that would be a really neat one. But I'm going to leave it at that because, again, third parties and indies, we can talk forever. I think that's a pretty decent slate already to potentially make this a general Direct. Even if it doesn't have that, like, even if the surprise one more thing is just like that side-scrolling Donkey Kong, I think a lot of Nintendo fans aren't going to react negatively if this is one of those lesser Directs. I think they'll be much more forgiving because we know the Switch 2 Direct's April 2nd. Like, we already know. We know what the big stuff is being saved for. Like, and we know when it's happening.
Yeah.
All right.
If the rumor is a partner Direct, then we're not going to see Metroid Prime 4 or any first-party games. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of what you said, Nate, but I actually don't think, even if it's a regular Switch Direct or just a mini Direct, I don't think we see Prime 4 here. And the reason why is
mouse controls waiting.
Well, here's the thing. Prime's not a system seller, sadly. Despite how critically praised the series is, it doesn't. I know. It doesn't sell consoles. So I feel like this Direct, while really hardcore Nintendo fans are going to be there for it, I feel like this is going to be one for a lot of people that they're okay skipping and just checking the announcements on IGN or Twitter. Like, you don't have to wake up and be there first thing in the morning. Everyone's waiting for the Switch 2 Direct. April 2nd is going to be probably the most viewed Direct we've ever had. Everyone's going to be there. So I personally feel like if I'm Nintendo, where do I want to show off Prime? I want to show it off in its best light. And again, this is I'm under the impression that Prime is going to be shown running on Switch 2. We know it's coming to Switch 1. I just that's my gut feeling. So well, I feel like
your gut can fuck off.
Really?
They'll show
really?
it.
Really now?
Both.
Okay, well, we'll talk later.
Here's what happened. They'll even give us like a release window. They'll say coming summer 2025, and we're like, oh, then why didn't they give us a date? Because they're going to give us the date of the Switch 2 Direct. Anyways,
what I can see them doing, I see them wanting to show off the game with Switch 2 when all eyes are there, seeing the game in the best light, and be like, dang, I need to get that.
Yeah. It's not a system seller. Why?
It's not a system.
So then
yes, it's not. However, I do think that if Mario Kart's the launch game, which makes the most sense, it's the smartest move Nintendo can make. It's their god killer title. It's the juggernaut. It's the system seller. It's the game you want to bundle every year for 20 years.
You get
the point. Yeah, you get the point. Well, it's a big multiplayer game. Everyone's gonna buy it. Everyone's gonna love it. But then people are gonna want a companion title. If Prime 4 is the other big title that launches, a lot of people who buy in early are gonna be like, well, I might as well check out this single player game that I've never played in the series because, well, visually it looks really awesome, and I already have Mario Kart to play with family and friends. I want something a little bit more, a little bit more narrative driven or solo experience driven. But with that being said, I do think we get a mention of Prime 4. I do think we're going to see Prime 2, Prime 3 announced for the Switch. And I wouldn't be surprised to hear that we're going to be seeing Metroid Prime 4 at a later date in April on the Switch 2. But I expect more third-party stuff. Sorry. Did you zoom into me? How did you do that? Why are you doing this to me on my first show? This is the pressure. This is the pressure, folks, of working for Nintendo Prime.
to your face.
At least you didn't change your name.
I'm sweating bullets. I did.
Yeah, I could change your name. I could really start fucking out. Okay, who hasn't gone yet? Eric?
Yeah.
I don't think Eric's gone yet.
No, I haven't. As for Direct, I don't know.
He's like, I just need Switch 2. I don't even care.
Right. I don't care about Switch 1 anymore. I thought for a second there my Switch had completely died on me. So I just really
brought
need
it
Switch
back
2.
to life.
Yeah. I mean, do I think there'll be one? Yeah. I mean, there's got to be something that, comes to Switch. I mean, we don't know anything. I don't think we have, any major, first party games that we know of, do we?
Do we get a Galaxy 2 HD to celebrate Mario's 40th anniversary on Switch 1 for the Switch 1 owners?
We could.
And that's why it was left off the 3D collection. I really think that's going to happen.
Yeah. That's a very good possibility. So, yeah, I'm hoping there is one just because I like Directs and it gives us something to talk about. But yeah.
All right.
Can we get close-ups on everyone, please? Let's make this the uncomfortable hour on the Nintenbyte podcast.
The intimate hour. Eric, that camera does zoom in.
Dave's never coming back after this podcast. He's like,
I'll just turn my camera off.
Show.
What are we doing?
I think I felt this way every time Dave is on. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to come back, and then he's always back. He's having a good time. All right, is that we good? Are we ready to move on to the next topic? Everyone got to go?
This will be my last appearance on your show, just FYI.
All right. Hey, you know what?
But David's the glue. Once he's out, it's crash and burn. So please come back.
No, it's all good.
It reflects poorly.
I've
on
known
me.
Nate
my
for
first day.
almost like 10
Oh
years
my
now.
God, yeah, it's before Switch came out. Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's awesome.
Before I was even doing YouTube like full time, just like little Zelda videos here and there for the old channel.
Yeah.
All right, so our last topic. We get intimate here. Patents. Everyone's favorite topic to talk about. Patents. We have patents for the Nintendo Switch 2. Patents are worth paying attention to mostly after things get announced, in my opinion. There are people out there, maybe people in my audience right now that disagree with me, and that is totally fine. But they probably won't disagree that this patent means something. And that's important. So we're going to go ahead and share this patent here. This is just one of many. There's been many a patent been going around. But this one basically gives everything that we need from the patent. So two big things that we, quote unquote, learn. I say learn because one of them we actually is something new. One of them isn't. It's just something that is confirmed, although you can argue Nintendo already confirmed it. So you can literally just look at the images. The images alone pretty much give us what we need. But pretty much what we learn in this patent is two things. And this is in several different patents because they have all the different breakdowns of all the tech and stuff, which is kind of cool to look at. Like if you like looking at how things are made, it's actually kind of cool that we have this stuff and can break it down, how all the connectors work and the magnets and everything. But obviously here we get the mouse. That was the one thing that Nintendo teased it. It's been rumored. Straight up, there it is, being used like a mouse. There's dual mouse mode. Kind of crazy. Nintendo is that kind of crazy where they would come up with some game where you dual mousing. I don't know what kind of game it is, but
it's going to be like their version of Snipper Clips.
I was to say that's the party title.
Yeah, it's the party something.
Or their version of Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, it would be good for Fruit Ninja. That actually would be. Anyways, so yeah, kind of cool. Obviously, they just basically see that. Yeah, clearly that's what that thing is. What Nintendo was teasing with them sliding around on the table. Yeah, it's a mouse. All right, cool. Really badass. I think a really obvious positive addition. If you've ever gamed with a mouse, you know the benefits of a mouse. Even if this doesn't look like it would be the greatest addition in terms of like the best ergonomics, the best type of mouse. What matters to me is that everyone has access to a mouse, which means it'll be supported in a lot of games, which means if you want to take something like this bad boy here and hook it up, it might actually just work with a shit ton of games. So you can have a better mouse than even what Nintendo gives you, just because games will likely support mouse, simply because everyone has one.
That's a
That's
good
a good
point.
thought.
So even if it's not the most ergonomic or the best, it doesn't matter. Everyone has it. Ergo, it's more likely to be supported than not as an option. All the shooter games will probably now support it on Switch 2. That'll be huge. They don't even all support it on Switch. There's a few games that do support it, but not all of them. All right, cool. So that's like awesome. And we can get to that. We can talk about the mouse possibilities and the cool stuff they can do with that. But the other thing is, and this is in this patent that was talked about today, it was actually posted last week, but went a little bit unnoticed, is that if you look at this close, and I know it's kind of small for you guys. I should have downloaded the images to make them bigger, but this is just it in its normal orientation, right? You got your USB-C at the bottom in the middle. You got your USB-C off to the side, your headphone jack, right? This is the orientation Nintendo showed us in the trailer. Well, as we get a little bit into here, oh, look, the orientation is flipped. There's your middle USB-C, except look at the controllers. They're on the opposite side. That son bitch is upside down. What is going on? Well,
It's a transformer.
Well, yeah. As is described in the patent, Nintendo went ahead and decided that, you know what? We're going to possibly, and it's almost confirmed at this point because it's in the firmware, support you putting your controllers on the opposite direction on Switch 2. If you look at the rails and how they're designed, it's possible to do it. Now, why? Nintendo says in this patent why. If you want to take the headphone jack and flip it to the bottom in handheld mode, that's basically it. That's all they talk about, the reason that they would support this. And you go, okay, cool. It's a patent. Doesn't mean they're doing it. Except in Switch firmware 19.0.0, there's a line of code in it that recognizes the controllers being flipped. And so then it talks about how it would flip the screen 180 degrees. Isn't that wild?
And that would also then make sense why the charge port's on the top and bottom.
But does it?
Yeah, because if you have your controllers in the one way, then you could, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you're putting them in your dock, but.
Well, no, for the dock mode, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing. Like, I thought engineering wise, you put a USB-C port on the top and bottom. You could have put a headphone jack on the top and bottom.
I mean, yeah.
Or you could have, put the headphone jack in the damn controllers. That would have probably been what I would have done if it was my decision. But yeah, I think it's interesting that they mentioned the primary purpose of it is for people that want to put the headphone jack on the bottom. I think that's cool, but I don't know. To me, it's weird for many reasons. Like, I know when I play my Switch in handheld, sometimes it gets pretty warm. And then imagine that now the heat vents are pointing at you. So the fans are blowing the heat at me. And I know people talk about how, I heard some people say, well, maybe that's not that big of a deal. I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I booted up Tears of the Kingdom and started doing some crazy shit in it. And I flipped the Switch upside down and I was holding it today. And I'm like, dude, I'm getting fucking toasty. This fucking thing is blasting me with heat. That is not comfortable at all. But you know what? It ain't about me. Because I'm never using this orientation. When I used wired headphones, I never had a problem putting them in the top and just going behind the Switch. It was never a problem. This never felt like a problem that needed to be solved. But just like people like with their phones, people like plugging it in the bottom, and it's just what we're used to and what we like. So it's convenience. So I'm not going to sit here and some people thought I was whining in my video today. I wasn't whining. I was just pointing out that I think like all these little minor inconveniences, to me, make it not worth it just to plug headphones into the bottom versus the top. That being said, some people will like it. And I do think it's nice of Nintendo to at least consider that, you know what, this is really stupid, but maybe some people want to do it. So why not support it? It's not like it hurts us. You want to hold your Switch upside down? Bring it around town. You can. Supposedly. So what do you guys think of both the mouse feature and the fact that it looks like we'll be able to put the Joy-Cons on the other direction and hold this thing upside down?
Well, what was the reason for putting it upside down?
According to the patent, it's so people can put the headphone jack towards the bottom. It's a preference.
I know when I first got my got my hands.
My opinion, but
when I first got my hands on the Nintendo Switch, the first thing I thought was, man, if only I could play this thing upside down. So
I mean, some people
that's
might
pretty
do it
much
just so people look at them weird. Dude, why is that logo upside? What is he doing?
I mean, it's like your smartphone when you watch YouTube on it, and if you flip your smartphone upside down, the YouTube video
Bring
rotates.
it around town.
But I just don't understand. There's nothing exciting about this when it comes to the headphones, in my opinion. I feel like what could be exciting is if there's some way to implement some sort of software that utilizes it in a cool feature, kind of like tabletop mode. Oh, you can lay it down and play Mario Party with these tabletop mini games, which, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, to me aren't as ideal as being able to play with the Pro Controller, but you know, some people might get a kick out of it. So if they do some sort of cool game implementation for it, then hell yeah, bring it on. If not, if it's just for headphones, it's like, who cares? The system probably has Bluetooth, and you're probably going to be able to wear wireless headphones. Hopefully, probably.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what the benefit would be because the screen doesn't have the ability to flip like a cell phone does. I don't know. It just doesn't make any real like logical sense to me personally. To be just a preference. You patent a preference? That's weird.
It's super weird.
That is weird when you put it that way.
Got any
Yeah,
thoughts on this one?
Preference. That is very odd. You know, I saw it earlier today and was kind of chatting about it online. And, you know, all I could think is that maybe it has something to do with an accessory that we don't know of yet, that Nintendo will have to tell us about. I was
some kind of Labo Part 2 or something.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Something along those lines. And like I was looking at the position of the USB port on the top and bottom. Let me ask you guys, because I'm pretty sure it's not, but I wasn't 100%. Is it symmetrical on top and bottom? Like, is the USB port on top in the middle? And then on the bottom, is it also in the middle?
No, not on the Switch 2, no.
Right.
The USB port's off to the right.
That's why I was wondering if flipping it would put it into an orientation like the USB port that allows for something to clip onto there, like some sort of accessory.
I knew
so
you were
it clips on in the middle versus on the side. Whether it be, I mean, who knows? Could be something. It could be anything. Nintendo does some really crazy stuff.
They said, "Oh, a camera." Well, we were already speculating a camera before because it's dead center. Yeah, it's fine, but like a camera slightly off to the side also isn't really that bad. You can literally angle it. Like cameras can be angled all the time to make up for that. So, but I mean, it's something. The thing is, I don't know. Third-party accessories, I guess, could find some way to take advantage of this stuff, but they do it anyways. Like already having 2 USB-C told me that we're going to get some pretty interesting third-party accessories anyways. You're going to see, I bet you a third-party accessory maker is going to attempt to try to make, have a big enough battery pack that you can put on it to try to make it run dock mode and handheld. It probably won't work perfectly unless you also replace the screen, you know, like those bigger screen accessories do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can see them trying. If maybe Nintendo even allows it. Hey, you got extra juice? Screw it. We'll give you full power and handheld.
Well, wasn't there a rumor of a 9-access ability for the Pro controller?
Yeah. So the 9
or Joy-Cons.
Okay. So one of these patents, I didn't show it, but one of them had the motion control stuff in it. And so the Joy-Cons themselves, the Switch 2 have the exact same 6-axis as the current. Kind of unfortunate. But for some reason, the Switch 2 tablet has 9 versus the Switch is 6. Some people are speculating maybe that's a VR thing. Could be. That could definitely be like a VR accessory thing. That's the only reason I could think that you would use 9 in there, but then not improve the controllers. So I mean, that's actually exciting to think about if you're really into the sort of the old the kind of like what Nintendo was trying to do, but with a more capable system with the Labo VR. If you actually think that there could be some smaller, lighter VR games, I mean, I could see if they ever release a VR headset accessory, something like Beat Saber could run on that. It'd be nice, stuff like that.
Yeah, all of VR games and all VR like headset stuff of today, they all use 9-axis controllers now.
Yeah.
There's no because 6-axis it doesn't give you enough immersion for movement. So that's why it's like 9-axis isn't really needed for Nintendo unless they're using it for something more specific like VR.
Yeah,
it's kind of that's why it's interesting.
So 9-axis in the tablet where you move your head around in VR, that makes some sense. But then I'm like, but then why wouldn't you go all the way and do 9-axis with the Joy-Cons? Who knows? Maybe they end up releasing accessory controllers you can buy that do have 9-axis that are specific for VR. Who the hell knows? Like, I don't know what Nintendo's thinking with it. My first thought when I heard it is, wait a second. If I boot up Breath of the Wild in handheld, can I do the motion control shrines now and they actually work? It doesn't fix it in dock mode, but maybe in handheld, hey, maybe those things actually function correctly.
Let me throw this.
It might
out
work better
there.
for Tears of the Kingdom actually with the power. What's it called again? The power that you have to move the objects.
Oh God! Now I'm good. One of the spots.
I can't remember the name.
Ultra Hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
9-axis for that would actually be really cool, but for a new Zelda though, because that's already been the game's already done. So.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Nintendo will do something with the 9-axis in handheld mode, for some games, and then you'll just use normal. Or who knows, guys? We actually don't know. Like, what if we say that? What if the Pro Controller also has 9-axis?
Yeah, and you can also detach that controller, right? Did they show that you can detach the Pro Controller?
They
Like,
so they
break
showed,
it in half.
Yeah, they showed a thing where you can like break it in half and like use it as a mouse in a really awkward way. The general consensus from a lot of people is that that's not actually what the controller is. They're just patenting the concept of splitting the controller and using it like a mouse. In case they do, like it'll probably be a standard Pro Controller like that. The design of it's horrible. That's like just literally the design that they show was really bad.
Yeah.
But they were just trying to. It was very clear they were patenting the concept of split it, boom, use it as a mouse.
The patent looked like the Virtual Boy controller.
It looked a lot like the Virtual Boy controller.
And that could be what it is. What if that's what it is? What if it's a virtual
NSO Virtual Boy? Yeah, that's what Demonic Brawler says.
Good job, buddy. You have better motion controls on your headset than you did back in the Virtual Boy days, and then you got your controller and it splits up, and they said, you know what? You don't need to use buttons to play Mario Tennis on this game anymore. Now you can use the mouse and you can whack it. Whoa.
That'd be pretty cool. There's a pretty good Wario game on the Virtual Boy, so I'd be happy to see that.
There's tennis on there. Hey, buddy, Thunderstash.
Yeah, Thunderstash. Why do you never talk about that tennis? That's the GOAT.
That's better than virtual tennis.
Virtual tennis,
way better.
It's Virtual Boy Tennis.
It's Virtual Boy. Come on,
Virtual Boy Tennis. Come on, boy.
Well, anyways,
I'd be pretty sad if the new Pro Controller was based on that patent and it split in half. I feel like, I made a video not that long ago on my channel about what we need or what I'd like to see from the next version of the Nintendo Pro Controller, and a flimsy Pro Controller that splits in two definitely was not on the list. I already want something that I love the Pro Controller, but I already want something that feels a little more premium.
Well, look, we're getting a new Pro Controller no matter what because there's a headphone jack. So I think we'll get a headphone, especially if they're thinking about reversing the system for the headphone jack. Then I kind of feel like they'll release a Pro Controller with a headphone jack, bare minimum, if nothing else. And they got to make a new one anyways because of the C button. That's not on the current Pro Controller. So, or whatever that square button ends up being called. Like that's an extra button that's not currently on the Pro Controller. They're gonna have to release one just to have that button. So,
is there any indication at all that the Pro Controller will have analog triggers? There isn't, is there?
No, we technically haven't seen any patents specifically for just a Pro Controller.
That is so disappointing.
And I'm sure we haven't seen any patents for it because they haven't shown it yet. The moment that they show it on April 2nd, because they'll probably show it.
I hope
then
so.
We'll start to get the patents for it, and then hopefully we learn. I would love analog at least on the Pro, but I get why it's not on the Joy-Cons, especially with mouse functionality. Yeah, okay. Like you don't really want analog for mouse functions, but
They could do a lot with F-Zero, Mario Kart, Star Fox with analog triggers. You name it. There's a lot of stuff you could do with that.
Well, we'll see. Let me see here. This was my topic, and I forgot who went because I had to fix Eric's camera.
Well, actually, I got something to throw in there.
All right.
What if you can clip on a screen? Now, hear me out.
I'm
This
already angry.
This would be NSO.
You're
related.
starting to sound too much like Mike Odyssey there, buddy.
No, this makes sense. I talked on N64 Josh's podcast about this. He thought the same thing too. Just like how Nintendo sells the controllers, NES, SNES, Sega, N64. We saw those reports about GameCube controller parts. So I expect a GameCube controller to be sold. What I'm saying is that
What are you saying?
if they do DS NSO, your controller literally is the second screen. That's what they would sell.
Okay. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
Sounds kind of like the Wii U. Great idea.
Look, I've been against the second screen for so long. Like I know we had the DS and 3DS and the Wii U, and I love those systems. And yeah, this does fix the problem I have with trying to bring it back. Like when people talk about like a cast feature, it's like, okay, yeah, but like the problem with the Wii U and why it didn't really take off is you had to look away from your TV to look at the gamepad, which defeated the purpose of a second screen. Because you have to take your eye off one screen to look at the other, then you might as well just have it be a menu. It makes no sense, right? And I understand, and this is not insulting Wii U. I loved Wii U. And there were some games where actually that did make sense. Zombie U was way better on Wii U than on the other platforms because it was a horror game, and the whole point was in the middle of the game, you're like looking at a keypad and you're trying to hack it, and then you forget about the zombie just like you would in real life. Like it was part of the experience. It made sense. But a lot of games is like inventory management is all it really was, which we used to just do on one screen with a menu. That being said, like people talk about, okay, well, forget the Wii U games because we pretty much got them all put on Switch anyways. So it's about the DS and 3DS stuff. And I'm like, I get it, but also like the screens have to be next to each other for that to be viable to me. And what Stash described would obviously be viable for that. But I look, if they ever do it, cool. It's not like I'm opposed to it. I
want it so bad.
I have no interest.
It would be as niche as people buying the controllers from Nintendo for the NSO. Like how many people actually buy the Joy-Cons, the NES Joy-Cons?
I don't know. Nintendo, they keep selling out.
I
want them, but I think
they don't make a lot of them.
I want dual screen to make a return so bad, but I don't want it to be in the form of an accessory. And I hear you, Nate. Yes, you do have to look away, and I do see the issues with that. I think the Wii U, the concept around it was fantastic. I think it was ahead of its time. I think trying to do what they did was way too early with the tech that they presented. It just wasn't. It wasn't there yet. But the application of having your menus, your map, your items, like I'm of the mindset, and I've said this before, that if we get Wind Waker HD, if we get Twilight Princess HD, the Wii U version will always, in my mind, be superior because of that second screen functionality. I didn't need it to do any crazy mechanics, just the intuitive nature of being able to navigate my items and menus and map without having to pause and actually stop the game was fantastic. So even if somehow they made a special Pro controller with that feature, I don't know, that had a small screen, obviously bigger than the Dreamcast game screen, but like in some sort of Nintendo Elite controller that adds that functionality would be sick. But yeah, I don't see it happening this gen. I would have liked to see some more simplified without getting too messy with some of the other applications.
We have a student raising his hand here in the podcast.
Yeah, and I'm actually noticing I'm the shortest person on this show. I think I've always known that.
Yeah.
No, none of that. I've met you in person, Dave. I know you're way taller than me. I'm short. I'm like a midget on this show. That being said, I know the camera, the angle makes me look like I'm on par. But if we go to the actuality, I'm like, anyways, what I was gonna say is, Gamebird, I'm so glad you have that opinion because me and you are gonna go to war over Wind Waker. One day.
Hey,
I think.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, finish your thought.
He didn't want to hear the rest of your horrible opinion.
No, I had a question before I forgot it, but go ahead. Finish your thought first.
So what I was gonna say is, you talk about how like, hey, I didn't have to stop the game and to like manage my inventory or whatever. No, you just had to look away from the screen like the game doesn't exist anymore. It's like the
sure, but even think of a game like Echoes of Wisdom and how cumbersome it was, and obviously there are steps they could take to simplify the navigation of your items. Imagine that on a second screen where you could just look down, yes, but you're not pausing it. You're looking down, you're scrolling with your finger, select.
But I'm not looking at the game anyway, so it might as well be paused. I'm literally not looking at the game anymore. That's my whole point. Is like you are physically removing your eyes from the game to look at a menu. That's what you're doing. It's just like the game.
Okay, what about the ability to draw and mark your maps? Locations you want to go back to that are easier at the touch or the drag of a finger than using an analog stick. It's convenience.
Play in handheld mode.
All right. Well, some people you just can't please. Let's start a poll. Let's start a poll. I'm
probably gonna.
I'm getting a little tired of this right now.
I'm getting a little tired of this.
I think the option is a good thing to have. So I personally like that as well, having the ability to like map your destination on the gamepad. But I was going to ask you, Nate, did you play the E3 build of Breath of the Wild in 2016?
Yes, I did. I played a lot of it.
Yeah. Me too. But they forced the gamepad functionality turned off on that demo. When they originally showed the game, it had all kinds of like what Gamebird was saying, that they had waypoints that you could map your place on this big open world. That was one of the features of the game when they previewed it.
Yeah, you would hold your gamepad up and then like you could like zoom in and like mark places. Yeah, because the idea was the Sheikah Slate guys was the Wii U gamepad. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was cool. But yeah, like I was hoping they would have it as an option for the Wii U version, but they were like, no, we want to make it exactly like the Switch version. So
yeah, they didn't want to make the Switch version feel inferior in any way. That's why.
Yeah.
Kind of like if Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD come to Switch.
Oh man, almost like they were perfectly fine before those.
I
don't know if that's even a better version.
It's not. No, I mean it's slightly better because it eliminated some of the.
I mean, you added your difficulty mode if you scan your Ganon. I'm like, okay, cool, but like, come on.
I actually prefer the GameCube version of Twilight Princess over the Wii version, only because after a while, waggling for swiping gets tiresome. But I did like the bow and arrow aspect with the Wii version.
That part was cool.
But other than that, I prefer just playing with the GameCube controller.
Yep. Sure. And I'd argue that the GameCube version of Wind Waker looks better than the HD Wind Waker, just because it has like something about the new lighting system made that game look a little bit more 3D and lose that really cool cell shaded sour cartoon.
Very sour look, yes.
Saturday morning cartoon look.
No, like I know what you mean. The Wind Waker on Wii U had shaders that actually overwritten. They overwrote the original shaders, the shiny shader, cell shading of the original game, made it look kind of odd in some places. It did look very clean and nice, everything, but yeah, the original, if they would have kept that same shader from the original game and just expanded on it would have looked
gorgeous.
The most amazing game ever.
Yeah, I think they didn't because, well, I try to remember with Wind Waker HD, and this is going back to my Zelda Informer days covering. The reason that they even did it was because they were experimenting for Breath of the Wild, basically, to develop for that game. So, like, sticking with the old game shaders when that's not what they're trying to see what new things they can do. That's what Aonuma said, anyways. That being said, because that's the one thing about those two games, a lot of people don't remember or realize, like, just in general, the Zelda team did the Wind Waker HD. Tantalus did Twilight Princess HD. And if you actually look at the two, there is, I don't want to knock Tantalus. I think, they HDified the game and tried to add some stuff to it. But obviously they're not the Zelda team.
Yeah.
Like
that is the inferior version next to Wind Waker HD. Wind Waker HD is definitely like the Nintendo's hand was on that one.
Like one thing in the Wind Waker HD they did that some people, I'm actually shocked how many people don't know this. I brought this up on a stream once. They got first person mode on Wind Waker HD. It's actually kind of neat. Little gimmicky at times, but it's kind of like they were messing around with first person mode, and then you go to Breath of the Wild interviews, and it turns out at one point they were messing around with first person mode in Breath of the Wild. So I'm like, so that's why they were cool. Anyways, I'm not saying we're gonna get a first person Zelda. They've clearly decided that Zelda's better not to be first person, but Nintendo,
yeah, we don't need Skyrim Zelda. That's okay.
Nintendo, if you want to do first person, new IPs, we're right. Action adventure RPG first person by Nintendo. I'm game. Let's go. I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping Monolith Soft.
Well, they had Geist. That didn't work out too well for them.
Oh yeah,
Geist is great.
That game.
It
is, but
Eternal Darkness. That game's great too. Anyways, now we're just bringing up all these old IPs. Anyone else have anything to say about like these patents? And like, we haven't really talked about the mouse stuff. Like, obviously it's obvious for shooters, but what other games do you guys think might benefit from like the mice?
Dude, Pikmin. Like I immediately think of the application with Pikmin and
Definitely.
like updating the gameplay, kind of unit management. Maybe I don't want to upset Dave with the third party, but I'm thinking like the Total War series coming over to Switch.
Minecraft.
Things I could do there. Minecraft,
yeah. What was some first party games they could do. What else we got? You said Pikmin, right?
Pikmin, absolutely. Fire Emblem's another one.
Fire Emblem,
like anything strategy based would greatly benefit. Diablo, we talked about earlier, potentially coming over.
Mario Maker,
RPGs.
Mario Maker for sure. The Sims would be awesome with the mouse for sure.
Mario Paint, obviously.
Yeah. It'd be nice to get Mario Paint over. Like if we haven't got it because of the mouse, then okay, cool. Well, we have it now, so bring it. Man, like a lot of games. Obviously the shooting games are so obvious. Even third-person shooters, like it's just more accurate. Like the motion controls guys in Splatoon are great, but I'm telling you right now, the people that are going to dominate are the ones using mice. All the top players are going to be using mice. It's just
it'll be a whole new game. It'll be a whole.
They might have to separate lobbies like they had to do back in the day on. Remember on Wii U with Call of Duty Black Ops? It was so bad with people using Wiimotes, destroying everyone using the gamepad.
Oh yeah,
they had to create a separate lobby because the Wiimote is such an advantage.
Yep.
So it might end up like that again with like Splatoon, where they're like, we got to have lobbies just for the people using mice. Anyway, some people might take that as a personal challenge. No, I got to get up those ranks with no motion control, no mouse, just twin sticks. I got to get up there to prove it can be done. I'm like, you can prove it all you want. You're going to get wrecked.
Well, with Call of Duty these days, the aim assist is so insane that sometimes it favors controller. It just aims for you.
Well, that's because Call of Duty has cross-gen, and
they allow it online.
Yeah, they allow it online because they don't create the separate lobbies like that. So like you are actually playing with PC players, and the only way a controller can compete is aim assist. Like literally, that's it. It's the only way. Now, will Nintendo go that far with their games? I don't know. They don't have as much experience as Call of Duty does doing that kind of stuff. Nintendo will probably learn on the fly, but it probably won't be there. Let's put it this way: if Splatoon adds aim assist, like maybe not this one, but the next Splatoon after, you'll know why. Nintendo learned that the mouse is wrecking. Yeah. And we need to do something to even the playing field a little bit. That being said, I don't know. Okay, so obviously Pikmin, if Sims 4 ever comes over, obviously like a lot of third-party games.
Metroid Prime 4.
Metroid Prime 4 makes obvious sense for. Any sort of like strategy game. It can make a lot of sense for if you get any sort of strategy games coming over.
Baldur's Gate 3. If that's reported.
Oh man,
for Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh dude, I'd be so happy.
I think Fire Emblem. Even think about
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
manage the maps and the battles and stuff like that would
That
be
was mentioned. Yeah.
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 So like there's just a lot of mouse is just a very intuitive control input. And my whole thought is if they're gonna end up having mouse support, wouldn't it be kind of neat if they supported keyboard too?
Yeah.
I don't
It gives
know.
them an opportunity to sell more accessories too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, launch the Nintendo keyboard. Think about it. They could theme the keyboard. People would just buy them to collect them.
Oh man, can you imagine a Metroid Prime 4 keyboard? Ooh, wow, it's all,
Yeah.
all decked out.
Yeah, I mean, I got
Or they
this GameCube themed one from Nixie. Like it's
Mhm.
really
yeah.
badass. People would just collect crazy if there was official themed ones.
They could do all the like the atomic purple and all those crazy translucent colors from the N64 era. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Super Famicom stuff and all
Yeah,
that fun
people
stuff.
people go nuts too because keyboards are multifaceted use, right? Like you'd use it with that, but if you have a computer, you can use it with that as well. Obviously, typing and looking stuff up in the eShop would be easier with the keyboard. We all know that keyboards technically work with Switch a little bit, but it's not natively supported in a lot of games. There's like 2 games that let you really use it. So it would be interesting if because there's a mouse, they actually allow keyboard input. Doesn't mean they will. Now, what I'm actually interested in is in the patent they showed the 2 mouse. What do you guys think is like that's about? Like what could they do with that?
I don't want to know what they wanted to do with that.
I felt very intimidated by that patent. Just
And you
Especially
know what?
some of these wacky games on Switch from Japanese, you know.
Did you see where their
developers.
thumbs were in that image too? So they
you
were
know
like,
what that would work for?
on the
go ahead.
control sticks. I'm like, oh my god, you're giving us like 5, 6, 8, 9 axis control, thumbs on the control sticks plus the motion and the click. Oh my god, you're gonna confuse me in whatever game you're using this in. This is like this is like having a laser mouse with the trackball on it. Put it on both hands.
You know what game that works for?
It's too much input.
WarioWare.
Yeah. So I thought,
WarioWare.
Yeah,
WarioWare.
Wario will do something crazy stupid with it, and everyone's gonna, oh yeah, that makes sense. Also, fuck you, Wario.
Yeah, I see them doing like tickling or
Oh
You
my
know,
god. So,
yeah, like plucking nipple hairs
yeah.
and stuff like that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's gonna be something like, oh, you gotta take your mouse and you gotta go in a circle. You gotta go in a circle. You're shaving the chest, but then like you gotta get the gas out of him. He's got to fart somehow. So then you go on the control stick and you start rubbing that, and it rubs his nipple, and then I'm like, fucking Wario.
Jesus.
God
Whoa,
damn.
dude.
Have you played the WarioWare? They get
I know.
really nasty at times. I have my kids playing it, and they ask me questions. I'm like, guys, I know there's some things in this game that I don't know if I was ready to have that conversation with my children yet.
Yep.
I remember when my wife, because I have the most recent Wario game, my wife walked into the living room, and if you guys have played the new one, there's a mini game where there's like a conveyor belt with like envelopes, and you have to stamp the envelopes, but you're in the squat position, so the animation is them stamping the envelopes with their butts. So I'm like stamping down in like this like squatting position. And my wife's just like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, it's the game, baby, I swear.
I'm just teabagging the envelopes.
Oh man. So yeah, anyone else got thoughts on this, or should we zoom on over to the Q&A?
Zoom on over.
Zoom on over. We got a lot of stuff in here, a lot of good stuff. Remember, guys, you can get your thoughts and statements in for the Q&A if you want us to feature it. All you got to do is super chat in $2 and up. All right. Demonic Brawler with a lot of them. You did find out. Said Nintendo Magic is exactly what's needed to save the gaming industry.
He's not wrong.
Fun fact, wasn't it? There was some analyst today. Let me look here. I saw it on my Nintendo News that was saying that like the Switch 2 is going to turn around all the sales problems this year in the industry.
Yeah, I read that too. I bookmarked it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which analyst it was. Oh, Matt Pescatella. Yeah. So he's the one guy. He's a big deal one, guys. He's the one that works for Circana, formerly MPD. Yeah. So like he has all the sales data, like all the official numbers in the US and North America. So like he knows what's up. So if he's being like, yeah, like all the sales are projected to turn around when Switch 2 comes out, it's like, man, you thought you would have said GTA 6, but you're actually saying Switch 2 is the reason things are going to turn around. All right. Crazy. And then let's see here. So thank you so much. Magic. Demonic Brawler again with another 5 says, can the better hardware or the DLSS feature of Switch 2 work towards Switch 1 games? So we talked about that. It would require a patch. It's not automatic. Yeah.
Well, it could be automatic to a certain extent from an OS level.
Oh, sure.
But
Sure.
it would be very basic, like across the board. It's similar to how PS5 Pro does it, with some mild like upscaling of like like Bloodborne, for example, on PS5 Pro looks a little bit better with some upscaling, but it's not really like a
the
full
improvements.
patch.
The improvements you guys want would require to patch it in.
Yeah.
But we're not talking like it takes major development to patch it in. Like they could have small teams doing it. So that's why like it might not be a blanket if they go this route. Like all games are upgraded. No, it'll be here's a handful that we have, and we plan to release more patches over time. Yeah. And it might be something that like if Nintendo doesn't want to give them quote unquote for free, they could say, hey, if you're an NSO subscriber, you just get these patches and you keep them forever. Because they're not going to unpatch your game if you unsubscribe. Oh, locked on your subscription NSO, we're going to unpatch your game. That would be pretty big backlash. Like you physically went on my system and took something off it. What are you doing?
Boy.
Anyways, we talked a bit about that stuff already. I wonder what an upscale Mario 3D All Stars would look like. Pretty much like it does now, just in higher resolution. Basically.
It looks cleaner.
Yeah, cleaner. Yeah, the jaggies might be gone. That'll be nice. But yeah, it's pretty much going to look like what it does now, just higher resolution, a little bit cleaner, no jaggies. Because they kind of already did the upscale, right? So for 1080 anyways. Cordy the Birdie, do you think Nintendo Switch 2 will support? Okay, we went over that one. We can skip that one. We did that one during the show. Demonic Brawler, I feel sorry for whoever has to clean up the mess left over after Nintendo blows our money. Oh man, I wonder how many like YouTubers or live streamers are gonna break something during the direct out of excitement. They're gonna jump up and their headphones gonna rip apart or something. It happens every time. There's always a compilation of like the biggest reactions to these events, and like some people, they're breaking stuff.
We'll probably see Andre's restart with his breaking his mic.
Yeah,
his screaming is insane.
Oh yeah. So who knows? Yeah, I mean, Nintendo is going to make a lot of people very happy on April 2nd. If they
make sure you bring a
biggest surprise would be if Nintendo disappointed, because everything is set up. The path is laid for them to have like the biggest gaming event of the year. So, so it's pretty insane to think about that and how rare this is, guys. It's only what at this point for Nintendo once a decade that we get some event like this. So pretty crazy. Plucky says a new Pilot Wings and Rave Race. Yes,
I would love that.
Oh,
that'd be
who
sick.
doesn't want that? If there's anyone that doesn't want this, you're wrong.
Yeah, of course I want that so bad.
Oh, that'd be great.
They could actually do both in the same game when you think about it. But I would like them to do individual games
separate, so yeah, they get more attention. Boo Mini, any chance Echo Wisdom gets DLC and you play as Link? Maybe the game takes place before Link gets to the dungeon where Zelda is, and we get more background story. I don't think they're going to do any DLC for that game. But I mean, could you get a prequel game? Could they be working on a prequel that leads up to that moment with Link? Maybe. Probably not. I kind of feel like, and look, we don't know this until it happens, but I think they're going to kind of go like your big 3D Zeldas or your traditional Link's the hero, and they might start going top downs more Zelda's the lead, building off of Echoes of Wisdom. But we'll see. We'll see. Echoes of Wisdom could also just be a one-off. You know what I mean? Like we don't really know yet until they announce the next thing. So
I wouldn't mind seeing a new quote unquote Zelda game with Ganon as the protagonist.
Yeah,
like playing as the dark
from his
what I mean? Dark story.
Yeah, and maybe that's what they do. They start going around, and next is Ganon. After that, they go, "Hey, how about this time you play as Darunia and you see things from his perspective?" Or, "Hey, here's a Sheik game, dealing with what happens in those 7 years." Like, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities if Nintendo wants to start going, especially with the top down, start exploring like different avenues of Zelda that they never really did before. That would be really cool. But we'll see. Obviously, right now they made a playable Zelda, so we don't know what's next with top down. Anyways. we're pretty confident. I would say that 3D Zelda, the next one, Link's the lead. It's probably traditional because why fuck with 20 million plus sales? Like you're not gonna fuck around. At least I wouldn't if I were them. I'd be careful about pissing off people too much. All right. Let's see here. Mike Odyssey was just telling me to wake up. I'm awake, man. I'm only getting like 3 hours of sleep a night. Give me a break, man. Boo Many. Will they hint at an Ocarina of Time remake in the April Direct? What do you guys think?
How can you hint at one without just showing it that that's what it is?
Teaser.
That's interesting.
They just have the sound of the horse hooves. And then that's it.
It's just a guy in the back with coconuts.
Yes.
Or you just hear the ocarina from like the very beginning on the intro scene, do 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 do, and that's it. They don't actually show anything, and it's like an in between as they're sliding to the next game, and you're like, oh shit, Ocarina of Time remake, but then they don't. It's not even Ocarina of Time remake. It's something else, and we're like, what the fuck was that? And everyone afterwards like, why was the ocarina playing?
It's the
Song
new
of Storms
Zelda
plays.
game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, that's the demo we play at all these Nintendo Play experiences. This Ocarina of Time remake that they didn't even show off.
Wow.
That would be kind of insane, actually. But anyways, I'm a Zelda guy, so I would fucking love if that was what they were showing off. I'm sure. By the way, I think those play sessions are an hour long, so you guys, the people that get to go, I think you're going to play a few games during that hour. Let's see here. Next up, Demonic Brawler's back again with a 10 spot, saying, "Do you all think Nintendo will pull a fast one on us at the end of the month and be like, tune in Wednesday, February 26th for Pokemon Presents, followed by a Nintendo Direct Mini/Partner Showcase?"
I don't think that's impossible.
I don't either. I was thinking about that actually earlier when I brought up the topic.
Well, one, everyone's wrong because Niantic already leaked that there's a Pokemon Direct on the 27th. And he said 26th. So already wrong.
It would be the 27th in Japan.
Oh, there you go. 27th in Japan. Anyways, no. I don't think so. I know Nintendo did like a partner showcase in the indie world together. And that was kind of a neat thing they've never done before. I don't think that's happening. Is it an impossibility? Of course not. But I think the Direct's next week. Pokemon Presents the week after. It gives Nintendo 2 weeks of fun. The Pokemon Company, by the way, likes to do their own thing anyways. They kind of like being independent from Nintendo. And the Pokemon Presents, or whatever they call it, Pokemon Director Presents, usually presents, it's going to have a whole bunch of stuff that's kind of irrelevant to Switch. It's going to have stuff for your phone. It's going to have news about the cartoon series, the TCG game. So, like, you got to remember that, like, the Pokemon Presents, it's not just video games for, like, Switch and Switch 2. It's actually, like, an update on everything going on with Pokemon. So it's a very different sort of thing than the kind of presentations Nintendo does as well. But again, what the fuck do I know? Do I work at Nintendo and the Pokemon Company? I don't fucking know what they're doing. Sure. Sorry, I just had to present the negative attitude since everyone else was like, oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that makes sense. Someone's got to be the negative Nancy. Gamebird, I thought you were the villain.
Yeah.
I'm just here. I have no idea what's going on. I'm present.
Yeah, I'm just present. He said, is it payday yet? I don't know what you're winking about. I don't understand the reference. It is not payday for me, unfortunately. I gotta wait. When's the YouTube money come? End of the month?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. My tax return, God knows when that's gonna show up. Anyways. I mean, somebody knows, the government knows. Demonic Brawler. What if February Direct gives us the release date for Okay, I thought you were showing off Virtua Tennis, just massive zoom in. Nope, you got to get to the Elephant Mario. Got it. For those listening to the audio version, Thunderstack is zooming in on Elephant Mario from Mario Wonder.
Very nice.
Little plushie he's got. So Demonic Brawler said, what if a February Direct gives us the release date for Prime 4? Then at Switch 2 Direct, we'll find out that that's the same day as the console release. Wouldn't that be wild if we just they gave the console release like a month and a week ahead of time and nobody knew?
I don't think they'll do that, but okay. Sure.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing. There's no way, because people will if it's like a June something, everyone's gonna speculate and be like, "Is that the launch date of Switch 2?" Like someone's gonna say it. Some YouTuber is gonna bring it up. I don't know if Nintendo wants people speculating on that yet, or having exact information basically before. Yeah. That's why I said if they show it and they want to like update it from a general 2025 to something, it'll be like a season, like it'll fall 2025 or summer 2025. I'll say this: unless there isn't a Switch 2 version, then I think they can give an exact release date. Then if there's no Switch 2 version, then yeah, when it's ready, drop it. If that's April, cool. But I know a lot of people would be very disappointed because they really want a Switch 2 version. Let's see here. Demonic Brawler again. Told you he's dominating up in here. It's not about the headphone jack. It's just to get people to shut up about what if I put my Joy-Cons the wrong way.
Nice.
Can you imagine them patenting something just so people don't complain about something else? That's funny.
I think I'm thinking, like, I sometimes when I hold my Switch, like I go like this and I get like really frustrated with something, and I go like this and I kind of like set it on my lap a bit, and I kept thinking, if it's upside down, that's the power button. I'm hitting the power button on my leg. I don't know if I want that to happen in the middle of a game. I guess it's my own fault technically, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm the only person that does that when you get a little frustrated when you're in a game and you're like, crap. Because I don't know, it's something I do with controllers sometimes too, right? Like you let go of it and you just kind of like tap it on your leg, and you're like, oh, come on, you gotta strap in, you gotta stop screwing up, Nate. Wipe the sweat off your hands. Let's go. Because it's always the sweat's fault, right? It's not a skill issue. True. True. It's always the sweat's fault, never a skill. I wasn't so damn sweaty. Plucky says, so what a theater mean keyboard and mouse supporter for Switch 2.
I think he was a little drunk with that super chat.
Plucky69. Put the bottle down. And I'm trying to understand. Are you trying to like, would there be keyboard? I think you're trying to say, are there keyboard and mouse support? Well, we know mouse is native. I'm just assuming, since mouse is there, that they'll support things like, Bluetooth mice or like, USB ones, because they have USB ports on there. So that's kind of an assumption they would support it. Plus, technically, it does work on the current Switch. He says, yup. Blame the game, not yourself. Yeah, all right. Are you blaming the game of tip the bottle? Is that the game?
Note to chat: don't drink in super chat.
Anyways, keyboard. I do think, we talked about it earlier. I think they should have keyboard support. We don't know if they're going to. I just think it's a smart idea if you're going to have mouse support.
Heck yeah. Keyboard support, add built-in chat. Let that extra square button be the chat mode.
Dude,
pop that button, type a little message to your friends.
Yeah, dude. Think about how convenient that would be for like if you're in a setup, like, because a lot of people do play at a desk. Not everyone, but a lot of people do play their Switch at a desk. They play their PS5 at a desk and stuff too. Like, think about how convenient it would be. Like, hey, instead of like, having to like go like one letter at a time with your stupid controller, you could just type the message if there's like local messaging and stuff. That'd be nice.
And then don't forget, you can clip on that extra screen to the keyboard too, like what Stash was saying. Mm-hmm. And then you have the ultimate Wii U experience.
Don't forget,
10 times bigger.
Someone told me, hey, just because those things are used for mouse, they could project a keyboard maybe onto your desk. Okay, guys, let's get a little off the crack pipe.
Now you're playing with power.
Now you're playing.
How's that?
Wacky power.
I have used a one of those projecting keyboards before. Guys, you do not want that to be a feature. I'm just telling you right now, it's really bad.
It doesn't work very well.
No, it's horrendous because
I don't even know what you're talking about. Projecting keyboard. What do you mean?
So there's like these little things you can buy that literally project a keyboard down onto your table. So it's just literally like someone drew a keyboard on your table, but you could type on it and it works.
Oh, it reads the input of you just touching the light on the desk.
Yeah, it's not very accurate.
What if you have big hands?
What does that matter? It's
big fingers.
All right. You move it back further and make the keyboard bigger.
Fair enough.
That's a good idea. 10,000 Noodles. Bring back the power glove. Help you with carpal tunnel from holding those Joy-Cons.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Did Stash just like vanish? And that's that's how he put.
That's actually him. He,
Oh, all
Yeah,
right.
don't you see the stash?
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot what that N64 game is on to the right. Which game is that? Vigilante 8?
Oh, yeah.
Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
Oh, okay. All right.
okay.
You're still there. Okay.
Close.
The elephant speaks.
The elephant speaks.
Yeah.
He's 2-camera setup going on. What is happening? All right. I didn't realize you upped your game stash. I'm so confused. Demonic Brawler. Nintendo Ninjas will get you over that preference. Yeah, they probably will. Then he says a Virtual Boy on NSO.
That would be very Nintendo, though, right? If they released a power glove to help you with your carpal tunnel because you're using the mouse too much of the functionality of the Joy-Con. You're like, wow, this is so cool. Extra $100.
Yeah, that would totally be Nintendo. Let's see here. We got Demonic Brawler again. I think this is the last one he has up. Left hand holds a single Joy-Con. Right hand uses a Joy-Con in a mouse mode. Yeah, it's on every game ever. Fuck around and find out. I mean, look, that it makes sense in that way. Like people talk about how, like, oh, well, if the mouse is in your hand, like you lose access to the buttons. I'm like, no, you don't. God, have you never used a mouse? You know how many buttons are on the side of this mouse? Use your thumb. You can still hit the ABXY. You just do it with your thumb. Now it is different.
I use the MMO one with like 12.
Yeah. If you're like a traditional console gamer that's never really used a mouse for gaming, yeah, it's going to be an adjustment for you. You know, hitting the ABXY with your thumb. But for like anyone who's like actually gamed on a PC, it's like, come on, like that's standard. We still have all the buttons. We didn't lose access to anything. Why don't you talk? The only thing that's awkward to hit is that C button that's like way at the bottom. Like, yeah, okay, that sucks to hit, but whatever. I didn't have that on the prior controller anyway. But anyways, let's see here. Next up, oh my gosh. Pokemon fan, 33, $2 says, do you think could get a direct in March? No. I honestly think
that'd be pointless.
Like if it launches in June, it's like, do we get a direct in June if it launches in June? I think that's a better question because I don't know that the answer to that is yes. Unless it launches early June. If it launches early June, I can see one being late June. But I don't know. March, I don't think so. Like if we have a direct in February, we just had the Switch 2 direct in April. Now we have the Switch 2 experiences. Why would we go back to a direct in March? You know?
Yeah. I personally feel like if we don't get a direct in February, there's just no Switch direct.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an indie showcase. And
you know what? Yeah. If you want to go with like Indie Worlds or something like that, sure. Yeah, they could slip one of those in there. Yeah.
And they've done Twitter directs before, just to announce a bunch of stuff on Twitter.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And we heard from Nate that there's some sort of event in May. We now know that's not the Switch 2 Direct, but what if that's just another Direct or a launch event thing or something, right? So could be something happening in May, and that's far enough away from April where Nintendo could have something going on.
It could be like a press event where all the media goes and plays Switch 2.
Yeah, because these public events, guys, I don't know if if everyone paid attention, the media didn't get invites to these hands-on play sessions. This was literally everyone sign up and hope you get chosen randomly. Jeff Keighley didn't get chosen. He got pissed about it on X. I'm like,
good. He doesn't deserve to play it.
It's funny. It's like, oh, sorry, your privilege didn't get you in, Jeff. Like, it was just obvious, and it's been Kit and Krista didn't get in. It's like it was very much random. It was literally a computer drew random names, and if you didn't get chosen, you didn't get chosen. It is what it is. Nintendo didn't lie to us. It was random. That being said, there has to be a media preview event, and that could be maybe what's happening in May. So
I think so.
Then that would make sense because that'll be closer to launch. You want media to get preview articles up and videos, and yeah, so show additional things that weren't shown in the hands-on event. Kay says Kid Icarus. Oh no, Kid Icarus remake. Like Uprising. That would be so sick with a mouse. I immediately think Kid Icarus Uprising with a mouse would be awesome. Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
Because you do so much crap with the stylus. Oh, that'd be so good with the mouse on the TV. Oh. And people have been wanting that game to come back forever, including Sakurai, by the way. He's talked about it in his videos. How he wants Nintendo to do a remake of the game and let him do it. I doubt that's what he's been working on for 3 years. All right. I think that's the end of the super chats, unless there's any that I missed. I don't think I missed any. If I did, someone can yell at me in the chat before we sign out, and we'll get it said. That being said, that's going to do it for episode 4 of season 2 of the Nintenbyte Podcast. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We were at 300 plus for most of the show until we got to the Q&A, so that is utterly fantastic. The show just keeps growing every single week. I appreciate you guys. We're building up to the Switch 2. And who knows, maybe we'll be one of the top Nintendo podcasts one day. Apparently, we're the top one in 5 countries. I'll have to double check the stats on that. Let's go around the room. Let people know what we got going on and where they can find us. Let's start with Super Metal Dave, man. What do you got going on and where can they find you?
You can find me at Super Metal Dave 64 on YouTube and SML Dave on Twitter. I do lots of tech stuff, as you guys saw on the podcast. If you're interested in that, find out more details, be sure to check out my videos. I also cover Metroid and Metroid Prime 4. I'm really excited about that, so I'll be doing more content on that. So yeah, thanks for having me on as always, and don't worry, I will return to your podcast in the future. We're just messing around,
especially for that third-party topic that you were getting angry about.
Yeah, if you want to, I'll come back. We'll do a talk about that.
You love third-party games, like you'd be perfect to have on for that. So yeah, we got to have that talk. Probably, I mean, we got to have that talk before we get to April. Then we got to have the talk after April happens, because then we have a much greater picture of what the hell's going on. So
yeah.
And we get to examples of games and we can compare them and talk about, like, dude, look what they're doing. Oh man, isn't it unfortunate that game looks like shit? You know, whatever the conversation ends up being.
Developers' fault.
Yeah, developers' fault. Bespoke hardware, develop it custom for it. Didn't you see what Rise did? Monster Hunter Rise? Wild? What are you doing?
Rise to the occasion, Devs.
Rise to the occasion. Gamebird. What do you got going on?
All right. Well, first off, I hope you guys all enjoyed my first show as co-host. It's the growing pains. It's the villain arc. But had a blast tonight, Dave. It was awesome to get to do a podcast with you. I told you before the show, I've been following your channel for years. So super cool. You guys could find me outside of the Prime podcast at Gamebird Classic on YouTube. I do Nintendo content. I do really weird Nintendo inspired skits and little comedy shorts. So if you guys enjoy news and Nintendo opinions and a bit of the funny stuff, go check me out. Trying to get to 1,500 subs. I'm a tiny guy, but I've got a lot of love to give. So yeah, that's it for me. Oh, and real quick, actually, I have a gift for the audience. Not necessarily Nintendo related, but I recently got approved for the network test on Elden Ring Night Rain. My code does not work for me. It says my region is incorrect. I believe they sent me an Asian region code. So I'm going to hold up my code for the stream. Maybe it'll work for one of you lovely viewers or listeners.
Hold on, let me make it big. Let me make it big. So,
is that for Steam or for PS5? Or
this is for PS5. Thank you for asking, Dave.
Because Dave's getting ready to try it.
Yeah.
No, I have a code already.
Oh, you have the code? Okay.
This is for the PlayStation 5. I'm a huge Souls fan. I really want to know about this game. All I ask is that if the code works for you, let me know on Twitter. Let me know next week on the show. I want to hear your thoughts on the game.
You better subscribe to his channel if you're
that
not.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and subscribe. Give me some love. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying.
The problem is you're mirrored.
Oh, yeah.
I'm mirrored.
Unmirror. You got to unmirror your camera.
Let's see. 1 second. Hold on. I gotta take these glasses.
Rookie mistake.
Setting wheel, then you go to video and you unselect mirror camera. But he took his headphone out, so he can't hear me anyways.
Yeah.
No, they're in. I hear you.
Oh, okay.
Liar.
Yeah, you hit the setting wheel, go to video, and then there's a thing that says mirror camera. Just click it.
Yeah.
I love your arcade version of Tab Mombat 2.
All right, video. Here
Another
we
one.
go.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Perfect.
You know, for next time, buddy.
There you go.
All right.
Someone's already ahead of the game. Someone already freeze framed it and
Yeah, they probably did.
started working the puzzle.
Good
But there
app.
you go.
I don't have a code for it, and I'm not throwing it in. I'm not from
Yeah.
Asia. I'm sorry. But you know, you
I
can
hope
make an account. You can make it a new account, guys, and set it for Asia. There you go. All right. Look at that. A gift at the end. Elden Ring Night Rain. Ooh, I've seen some of the stuff on it. It's looking good. What a shocker. What, Elden Ring Night Rain looks good? Who fucking knew?
You're right.
Eric.
Yep, I'm here.
sounds good.
Again, just so I don't get fined.
Dave, you were going to say something
Obviously.
there? You wanted to comment on Night Rain?
Oh no, it just sounds really good. Yeah, from what I've heard, I can't wait to play it. I haven't tried it just yet.
You haven't tried to say, yeah, I watched the Kind of Funny. They did a show on it today and like talked about their reaction. Dude, it sounds sick, which isn't really.
I'm gonna be co-oping it with Aircuts for the Win on she's the YouTuber, but I'm not. I don't think she's gonna stream it though. So we're just gonna check it out.
Sure, yeah. No, that's cool. Thunderstash.
Yeah, you guys find me on YouTube at Thunderstash Gaming. I just posted my review today for Guns of Fury.
Mhm.
You should definitely check it out. I had a great time with the game. It is a mix of Metal Slug and Super Metroid, if I were to pinpoint it. It is a Metroidvania, but it takes like Metal Slug and some Contra elements and mashes it up very well with specifically Super Metroid. And you'll see why if you play it.
Both great games.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And so that's on Nintendo Switch and on Steam. It's not on any other consoles yet. So yeah, check that review out. I will also be playing Elden Ring. Looking forward to that.
Oh yeah.
It's the first session is on
Friday, right?
Friday from my time is 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'm up every day at 4. So I think I'm gonna get down on it like right when it starts.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
Yeah, might as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out. And who's watching Cobra Kai tomorrow or tonight at midnight?
I might
get real crazy.
I actually might be binging it in like an hour.
I might too, dude.
I know, dude.
I might
I'm
not sleep
so
tonight.
pumped for
Remember how you
Cobra
guys
Kai.
get 3 hours of sleep? Tonight it might be 0 hours of sleep.
I know it's tempting because
It's so good.
I know, but I could just go to sleep and then wake
In
up
the
feeling
morning.
fresh and enjoy it. So I'll probably just go to sleep and get up at 4 and watch it.
I'll probably start the first episode then tell myself you need to stop now because you ain't gonna stop because you want to know what's next and what's next and what's next.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. I think that's the end of the series, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
That's it.
It's been special.
Yep. That's the end of the show, and then the next up is a movie later this year.
Yeah, this summer. It's in May.
Yep. And then we'll see what happens. There's probably a spin-off series from it and other stuff, so we'll see down the line.
Sounds
This was
great.
a master class on how to bring a movie
Back
to
Brand
this.
back.
Yeah, like this should be studied. Can we do this on
So-
some more things?
Quick question: who is the main character of Cobra Kai? Who would you say is the main character?
I'd say the first couple seasons it's an obvious Johnny, but then it kind of becomes shared for multiple characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first 2 seasons it was definitely about Johnny and like a redemption arc kind of thing. Then it changed.
Then it kind of became about Miguel, right?
Yeah,
For a bit.
Miguel for a bit. Robbie
Yeah,
for a bit.
Robbie.
Robbie.
Kreese had
Reese,
Yeah, Kreese is big.
a lot of
yeah.
screen time in season 2, of course.
That's the thing. They did it, like that's the thing about this show is like they did such a good job incorporating all these characters and making them all feel like a really big part of everything. This is a masterclass, to be honest. I don't really know how. I don't even know how they did it. How
They
they
need
even
to do a TED talk on it.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I mean, I don't know how you guys, whoever came up with it, the writers, I don't know, man. You guys did phenomenal.
Check it out. It's actually pretty cool stories. 3 guys that are probably around our age.
Oh, nice. So like, fans of the OG stuff grew up with it.
The fans of it grew up with it. They're huge fans. They pitched it. They accepted it, and then the
Just
rest is
run
kind
away?
of history. Yeah, it's a really cool story actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Sick.
That explains why it was so able to respect the source and build on top, because it's true fans of the original source.
exactly.
Nice. All right. I don't know how I follow that up, but I'm Nate from Nintendo Prime. If you guys do anything today, go watch my video I dropped today because it completely bombed. It's not anyone's fault, but Sony, your state of play. Why? Why at 4:00? Why, when I'm dropping my video, do I have to live stream something? Sony. And then I wasn't even excited at the end of the state of play. It was kind of just okay. It's okay, though. I forgive you, Sony. You ruined me one day. Switch 2 is about to ruin you on April 2nd. I don't really care.
I think they need to revamp the state of play. They need to rename it something else and just like get something fresh. It just was boring. I don't know. The way they present the stuff is very boring.
It was.
Yeah. And they had like too many games that were like too samey, going like back to back to back. It's like, no, you got to work on pacing, man. And yeah, we've had directs that have been kind of bad, farming sim after farming sim. And I get it. We've definitely had some bad directs. But then we'll have a bad direct, but then like the next one will be like perfect. So it's like Nintendo will give you the bad one, but then you always know, yeah, the next one's probably going to be a banger then. But every state of play just kind of feels the same. And the number one comment I saw today was just a lot of Sony fans were like, so where's all of like the games Sony's actually making? It was mostly third-party stuff that's on everything.
They probably put too many eggs in the live service basket.
Yeah, I think.
And then they canceled all those games, and now they got nada to show for it.
Yeah.
And they replaced their presidents, which tells you a lot right there.
Yeah, because the former one was one of the ones pushing hard on the live service.
So Jim Ryan's gone, and then Herman Hulst he stepped down, and it's not looking good for them.
Yeah, I mean, we still have the new Ghost game coming, don't we?
Yeah, I mean their console's still selling well, but that can only last for so long. They need to get their act together.
And again, I don't want to make this end like bashing on Sony, but even selling well, the sales have been dipping for like a year and a half, 2 years. Now it's going to bounce back with GTA 6. That's going to be a big boost for them because it'll help Xbox too, but it's PlayStation that's going to get the big boost. But yeah, Yotoi. Yeah, that was the thing. I thought we would see Yotoi today, maybe because it's one of those games everyone's excited for. Death Stranding 2 is now it's announced. We haven't seen.
And they got Wolverine, which is I think probably 2026 or something. Probably.
Yeah, and they showed off stuff for 2026. Why couldn't we see Wolverine finally? It's already leaked out there. Why can't we just see it for real?
Yeah, so that's kind of that's all they got left. So
yeah, it's kind of weird, but you know what? Sony's doing just fine overall. They make most of their money from third parties anyway, so it makes sense they promote a lot of the third parties because their margins on their own games are pretty thin. Sony, please learn some lessons. You don't always have to spend 200 to 400 million on games. It's okay. You can spend less. Hopefully, Astrobot helped teach you that because I'm sure the Astrobot margins were great. Even selling 1.5 million at full price. I'm sure your margins were great on that. So learn a lesson, experiment more. Like the old Sony, when we used to get the Crash games and all the other, experiment more. Let's get some other stuff going, not just the big mega franchises. You know, your God of Wars, your Forbidden West, your Spider-Mans are going to sell, but let's get some more variety.
They wrote a back of the success of the PS4, which I think is a fantastic console with a great lineup, but them making the call to shut down all those Japanese studios and some of the stuff that made Sony really. I'm a huge Sony fan, obviously nowhere near as much as I love Nintendo, but I've been a Sony fan since the PS1 days. I always feel like for whatever reason, the odd number consoles are always a miss for me. Granted, the PS1 was fantastic, a lot of great memories there, but when I think of pinnacle Sony, I think PS2 and PS4. Those are the pinnacle eras.
Yeah, second half of PS3 was really good.
Yeah,
and then that went into PS4.
Yeah, back half of PS3 kind of led into PS4. It was really nice. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Sony's obviously got their own strategies, guys, and I know that they're actually more reliant on third parties than anyone because they are the third party machine. They get everything, and that's awesome. I'm happy for them. But Sony's just in a weird spot. Like, it's kind of weird because like we're a big Nintendo channel and Nintendo is like on top of the world and can almost do no wrong at the moment. But Nintendo's definitely done wrong in the past. And now Sony's kind of like, hey, we were on top of the world with PS4, and now we're kind of like resting and made some bad calls and some bad investments and Concord, and that's a huge flop. And now we're getting rid of all the service games besides Helldivers. And then, oh man, we bought Bungie in response to the Activision stuff, and then Bungie turned out maybe wasn't the best purchase in the world, and there was a reason they were for sale. So like, I don't know. This isn't me saying Sony's in trouble, guys. They're not. They're obviously doing just fine. They still make like the most revenue in the entire.
It's just poorly managed.
Yeah, there's like when you have your own overall CEO of Sony last year at an investors meeting, literally unprompted, saying our margins on our PlayStation games are unacceptable. That's the guy running the whole fucking company. Finally saying, hey, we should be making money on the games that we make. Like, what do we do? Everyone else is making money. Why are we not making money? Like when we released Spider-Man 2, why are we not making anything? How do we sell 11 million copies and make nothing? Because you spent $600 million. Like
too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah. They have their teams are gigantic. Too much salaries to pay, and they can't make profit on that. They gotta cut the fat.
They gotta cut the fat. And again, Astrobot I think was a nice step in a good direction for them. Go with some more games.
I never understood when that announcement came that it was like, oh, they wanted to have 10 games of service, 10 new games of service by whatever year within 4 years.
Yeah.
First off,
disaster.
First off, like having a smash hit success games of service is like winning the lottery. It's extremely hard, let alone creating 10, which are going to cannibalize. Not everyone's going to. No one plays 5 games of service at a time. There's not enough time. You pick one, maybe 2 that you like. So you're cannibalizing, but it's a gamble and they're pouring hundreds of millions of dollars. It's because
they just want one of them to take off and become their Fortnite. And it's like, that's fine. I get it. Why you did like a shotgun spray and just hope one hits. But here's the problem. Your own fans, if you keep releasing the service game or the service, they just get tired and they don't want to try check them out anymore.
Yeah.
And look, Helldivers 2 was a good thing. Then you fucked around with the main audience, which was PC, and you pissed them off. Yeah. Now, you've rescinded everything, and now you're pulling PSN requirements from all your games on Steam and everything, and that's cool. Kudos to you for making the right decisions in the end after all the backlash. But it's kind of like, but you stopped the momentum. Now go look at the playing. Go look at the Helldiver 2 numbers. They never got as high as they were back then because some people are going to make it don't matter. You fucked around. You fucked with a good thing. We ain't coming. Some gamers are just not going to come back. So, and that's the thing. Helldivers 2 was one of those games where they could have, that's kind of a live service game. They could have rested on that for the next 4 or 5 years and made some good money, release a lot of good DLC and some season passes or whatever they want to do with it. Right. But, they kind of fucked that up a little bit. And then obviously Concord flopped. And then they canceled a bunch of, at least what we've been told from the reports is a bunch of them have been canceled. I don't know if all of them have been canceled, but a bunch of them have been. So, and that's money lost. Who knows? And we know how much money they pour into their games. Think about how much money they probably have poured into all those other ones they canceled. So, Sony just, I'm hoping that Astrobot and this decision to knock Herman Hulst down a peg and have him have to answer to someone, I hope that this is a signal of a new direction for Sony. And again, Astrobot to me is my biggest hope because they finally went with a more budget game, and it still kind of cringes a little bit when I hear budget, and like Astrobot's incredible. But like their developer said it was like $50 million. And I'm like, dude, Nintendo would have probably made that game for like 20. So even your budget game was still a little on the high end for what you were doing. That being said, 1.5 million sales at the price point they had, most of it being profit, obviously digital. Yeah, they made a profit on the game. So that's good. The margins are probably better on that game than Spider-Man 2. So I'm hoping we see more games like that. Because like what people don't get is like, Nintendo games don't go super high budget. Zelda's like their big high budget game. Metro Prime 4, by the way, it probably is super high budget because they had to reboot the damn thing. So they probably actually sunk a lot of money into that game, especially relative to the sales that it'll probably get. But there's what we hope it gets, obviously. But yeah, like Kirby and the Forgotten Land. You think that was a $100 million game from Nintendo?
Did it? Wasn't there an article when Breath of the Wild was like when it first came out that it only needed to sell 3 million copies to turn a profit. I feel like I read an article along those lines, which is when you think about the scope of that game and building that physics engine and like the time on development, that's insane. Especially when you think about some of the modern games that need to sell 10, 15 million to turn a profit.
Yeah, and Nintendo Forecast did a deep dive into the financials behind Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and it turns out that roughly those two games combined cost $370 million for Nintendo to make, just those two games. And yeah, that's a lot of money, but that's over two games, not one. And each game sold over 20 million copies at full price.
Yeah.
Full, that's the key thing. At full price, they each sold over 20 million. Like that. Yeah, the profit margins on that were insane. That's why they can justify those 100 million plus budgets for those 3D Zeldas, because one, they only need to sell 3 to 4 million to make a profit, because they're selling them all at full price. The problem with some of these other companies, like, yeah, that it's 11 million Spider-Man 2s that sold. They weren't all at full price. They sunk the price after 3 months. They weren't all at full price. Like that's a whole nother thing. Like Nintendo is a different business. They operate differently. And again, I know this feels like we're crapping on Sony at the end. I think we're just worried. Concerned for Sony that they need to start making some different decisions moving forward. Or I'm not worried about them this gen, but if they keep down this direction, like I worry PS6 might be it.
I just don't like the trends. I don't want live. I don't want gaming to turn into live service slop.
Yeah.
And microtransactions everywhere.
Look, PSM was just down for like an entire day, and most people's PS5s were useless.
That was interesting.
And they still haven't explained to this day what happened. You know?
No, there hasn't been a straight, clear answer as to what happened.
There's this
I think there was hacking involved.
Yeah, I think so too. There was this one person on Twitter who doesn't like me and always gets in a debate with me, but there's one thing him and I agree on, and that is that Sony has been horrible at communication for a while now. And this recent hacking is just another example of like you couldn't be transparent with something, that something bad happened. It's okay. Like it's fine. And if it wasn't something bad, then you shouldn't have to worry about what you have to say. And I know some people say, oh, well, because of the state of play, that was the reason. Like, if it was regular network maintenance, it would have been scheduled. It wasn't scheduled network maintenance. It was emergency maintenance that they had to apologize for. So, anyways, we have one last super chat, and then we'll head on out of here. This comes from Flucky69. Says, live service games need a floating endgame activity. Bungie has dungeons and raids. It doesn't work for all games. Are you still popping the bottle over there, buddy? There's still some typos and spelling errors in there. I quite enjoy you, Plucky69. Keep those plucky questions coming in. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can hear this podcast everywhere podcasts are heard. And we are outie. Peace out, everyone.
Later.